Good afternoon, everybody. Can we all settle down for the inaugural? My name is Vipin Sani, and I'm the Chief Executive Officer of Biological Agri Solutions Association India, and I welcome one and all of you who have graced this occasion. It is our first event entitled BASAI 2024, Biologicals for the World, Agri Inputs Tackling Global Challenges. And I can't say how much overwhelmed I am by the response that I have received even till late night and today morning also in this whole regard. So thank you all for gracing the occasion. We will now start the inaugural, and for that I would first like to invite our chairperson Zuzar Khurakiwala to kindly escort our chief guest Dr. P.K. Singh, Agriculture Commissioner, Government of India, to the dais. Ladies and gentlemen, we can give them a warm applause. And may I also request upon the dais Dr. Deepak Paintal, former Vice Chancellor, University of Delhi. Sir, please. I would also like to request Dr. Vinod Pandit, Regional Director, CABI, to kindly join us on the dais. Before we start the inaugural session, I would like all of you to kindly stand in respect of the national anthem likely to be played.
Please rise for the national anthem.
कृपया राष्ट्रगान के लिए खड़े हो जाएं।
जन गण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता, पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा, विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा, तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे, गाहे तव जय गाथा, जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता, जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे.
Over to you, Dr. Zuzar Khurakiwala.
Good afternoon, all of you.
One by one. This is
Respected Dr. P.K. Singh, Agriculture Commissioner, Government of India. Dr. Deepak Paintal, former Vice Chancellor, Delhi University and Center for Genetic Manipulation of Crop Plants. Dr. Vinod Pandit, Regional Director, CABI. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to welcome you all to our first ever event, BASAI 2024, themed Biologicals for the World, Agri Inputs Tackling Global Challenges. I'm particularly overwhelmed by the response that we have this afternoon. Thank you all. As BASAI enters its fifth year of operation, we have come a long way in terms of policy and advocacy and our stewardship efforts in disseminating knowledge. Not to mention the efforts placed by BASAI towards assisting the government in drafting and implementing the biostimulant regulations notified under the FCO 1985 of the Essential Commodities Act. In 2019, when we first started, we were a 7-member association and had the immediate task of addressing the biostimulant regulatory concerns being faced across all stakeholders. Today we stand as a 33-strong responsible corporate member presence and work along with various industry associations and farmer organizations to address the concerns emerging from the use of biological agri inputs used in agriculture, including horticulture and floriculture. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure to be standing in front of such an august gathering to discuss and deliberate upon the latest scenario of agri-inputs gaining attention. The biologicals, both microbial and botanical in nature, and to a certain extent probably also wanting to cover semiochemicals in the context. More so when our Honorable Prime Minister vision is to promote organic and natural farming practices in the country in a manner that it does not jeopardize the existing food and nutritional security of our country. In the nation's strive to achieve what may seem impossible targets in our present day, understanding to actually envisage to attaining during the Amrit Kal by 2047, making India's 100 years of independence. Starting with the Undersoil Health Card scheme of Rashtriya Krishi Vikas Yojana, wherein the states are provided assistance to promote integrated nutrient management through judicious use of chemical fertilizers in conjunction with organic fertilizers. The government has been promoting organic farming on priority in the country since 2015-16 through the schemes of Paramparagat Krishi Vikas Yojana and Mission Organic Value Chain Development for Northeastern Region. Natural farming since 1920 through a sub-scheme namely Bharatiya Pragati Krishi Paddhati under the Paramparagat Krishi Vikas Yojana. The latest government initiative announced being the PM Program for Restoration, Awareness, Nourishment and Amelioration of Mother Earth to incentivize states and union territories to promote the use of alternative fertilizers such as organic and biofertilizers. Under the program, state governments will be incentivized to the tune of 50% of fertilizer subsidy saved for promotion of organic and natural farming and organic fertilizers. Under Mission Life program, government is taking up various environment-friendly initiatives to encourage natural and organic farming using organic and biofertilizers for reduced emission of greenhouse gas through reduction of use of chemical fertilizers and pesticides. Well, biologicals may and should not be considered as alternatives to conventional agri-inputs such as fertilizers and pesticides. On the contrary, they can be considered as complementary agri-inputs so as to enhance the effect of fertilizers and pesticides in a manner so as to directly reduce the dependence and use of conventional agri-inputs such as fertilizers and pesticides. Biologicals are being heralded as part of the solution to many of the challenges facing today's arable farmers. Described as anything other than fertilizers and pesticides, they can be added to the plant, seed or soil. To enhance plant growth, biologicals are compared by bold claims about their efficacy. Few would argue that biologicals show promise, and that's reflected by the rapid growth of this segment in our industry. In light of the recent attention being given to biologicals, modern agriculture needs to review and broaden its practices and business models by integrating opportunities coming from different adjacent sectors and value chains, including the bio-based industry, in a fully circular economic strategy. Searching for new tools and technologies to increase crop productivity under optimal and suboptimal conditions and to improve resources use efficiency is crucial for food security while preserving soil quality, microbial biodiversity, and providing business opportunities for farmers. One of the key issues that I see in terms of organic farming is to create, as I was discussing with Dr. P.K. Singh during lunch, is to increase public awareness of consuming organic foods. If you create demand in the society where we have a large youth population, a large middle class, if the demand is, people are made aware of the benefits of organic food, I think the supply chain, the ecosystem will gear up to meet the demand. So I think that's one area which government can think of in deploying resources, as well as organizations which are involved in this, such as ours. In short, benefits of biologicals underscore their potential and a promising pathway towards attaining sustainable agricultural practices. If all this don't make sense, then how about a total market of biological which is to the tune of almost over $40 billion sound to be explored against an approximately US $100 billion market for agrochemicals for plant protection and the US $200 billion market for fertilizers alone. I think India has a great opportunity not only for the domestic market but also for the international market as far as this whole segment is concerned. I hope that this event of ours, the first attempt of its kind, and we hope to make it more international in the years to come, meets a meaningful outcome for all the stakeholders and provides a roadmap towards addressing the diverse issues being faced by all stakeholders, be it regarding imports, exports, taxation, customs, and many others. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your presence and patience. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for setting the tone. Before we proceed, this is our first event where we would like to showcase where we stand and what we are. So may I request the audio one to be played. It's a small video clip we prepared. We hope that you like it.
चिड़िया कौवा तोता हमारे जितने ये पक्षी हैं ये एक बिल्कुल अब एक दिखाई नहीं देता। इतना जहरीला वातावरण हो चुका है।
बाजार में भी दूध जाता है, हर घर में दूध जाता है, हर आदमी यही कहता है जाके जिसके दूध ले रहा भाई दूध में टेस्ट नहीं है, आपके में दूध में टेस्ट नहीं आ रहा। टेस्ट आए कहाँ से? टेस्ट को चीज़ हम खा ही नहीं रहे, हमारे पशु ही नहीं खा रहे टेस्ट की चीज़।
हमारी इच्छाएं इतनी बड़ी हैं, उन इच्छाओं को हम पूरा करने के लिए हम उस नुकसान को नहीं देख रहे, लेकिन शारीरिक नुकसान बहुत हो रहा। मैं ब्रह्मपाल नागर,
मेरा नाम छत्रपाल
ओम प्रकाश नाम है जी मेरा,
और हमारा कृषि का ही काम है जी, और कोई काम है नहीं।
अभी तक तो किसान कीटनाशकों के सारे ही अपना फार्मिंग करता रहा है। हम यही समझाते रहे हैं कि कीटनाशकों और केमिकल फर्टिलाइजर्स के ओवर यूज से क्या नुकसान होते हैं। लेकिन अब वक्त आ गया है, इंसानों को इस मामले में और अवगत कराने की ज़रूरत है कि बायोलॉजिकल्स को कैसे इस्तेमाल किया जाए, किस वक्त इस्तेमाल किया जाए, जिससे उसको ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा फ़ायदा हो सके और सस्टेनेबल एग्रीकल्चर की तरफ उसको बढ़ने का मौका मिले।
कुछ लोग अपने स्वार्थ के लिए करते हैं, पर समझे मेरा अपना घर ठीक होना चाहिए, मुझे दूसरे तो उसमें जाएगा फिर, ये समझे। मैंने अपनी पैदावार लगा ली, मैंने 1 एकड़ लगा लिया, उसमें कोई खाद वगैरह कुछ नहीं डाला, ऐसे लगा दिया। लेकिन उसके लिए जो मुझे मार्केट में देना है, उसके लिए तो मैं तो अपना फिर वही यूज करूँगा।
ये बताते हैं ये जो हमारे कृषि विज्ञान वाले अब मिट्टी जहरीली हो गई है,
बीमारियां ज़्यादा बढ़ रही हैं पशुओं में भी और इंसानों में भी, क्योंकि उसी पैदावार को ही पशु भी खा रहे हैं, उसी का ही दूध है या जो भी है हम उसी को हम यूज कर रहे हैं।
पानी में भी हमारे काफ़ी फर्क पड़ चुका है। पानी जब हमारे ऊपर 32 फुट पे है तो उससे पैदावार और ज़्यादा हुई, और अब जो है ये जब से ये 200 फुट 250 फुट पर पानी जा रहा है तो ये पैदावार कम हो रही है।
आप पे ट्रैक्टर होगा, मेरे पे नहीं है, तो मैं तो किराए के लिए सिर्फ जाऊंगा आपके पास, वैसे नहीं जाऊंगा। पहले क्या कि हमदर्दी थी, आप अगर आपका खेत में हल नहीं चला तो मेरा भी जावे, उसका भी जाता था, इसका भी जाता था। सारे मिलजुल के काम कर रहे थे, इसलिए प्रेम भावना बहुत ज़्यादा थी। हो सकता है कि इससे प्रेम भावना भी दूर दूर होती जा रही है, आपस में मिल नहीं रहा है।
Knowing about the problems being faced regarding soil health, human health, their well-being, and the cost of agri-inputs being placed across, I believe that our members at BASAI are all in there to provide not only quality products, but quality products at a reasonable, affordable rate, and also in educating them how to properly use those products, not to overuse it, not to underuse it, but the appropriate use and the timely use of such kind of products, so that they can, really get the best out of such kind of practices, the biological practices, towards achieving sustainable agriculture and addressing all their concerns on the environment, on the food produced, and on the health of their family and their well-being. There are policy issues involved which are not easy to negate immediately, but there is a process, and the process gets initiated, and during this process we have and we look forward to attaining a much better success rate in addressing all those concerns. In these 5 years, we've been able to not only disseminate information across all stakeholders, both nationally and globally, but we have also come across with a number of publications that are helping all kinds of stakeholders in the country. Our members are doing a lot in innovation, a lot of R&D. The R&D moves way far ahead at a faster pace than the regulators can cope up with. And that is where the problem of making one understand the science between this new technology, new innovation that comes across poses a challenge. In the next probably 5-10 years, I can say that BASAI can be looked upon as a sole kind of organization, obviously with the collaboration and the support of other organizations across regionally also.
As we all know, there are thousands of players in biostimulants in India, and therefore need to regulate the same is very vital and very essential. It is with this purpose in mind that the Indian government, under the leadership of Prime Minister Modi, did a very wise thing of bringing biostimulant under FCO. And with this initiative, good companies got together 5 years ago to establish what is known as the Biological Agri Solutions Association of India, BASAI.
Concentrating on addressing all biological agri input solution concerns. Basically, BASAI is not looking at totally removing the use of chemical agri inputs in agriculture. We are just there and only to complement the regular practices going across, and therefore helping the farming community to reduce the use of chemical agri inputs and have a more better adaptation towards biological agri inputs.
इस बीच में चेंज तो नज़र आता हुआ आ रहा है। किसान अब बायोलॉजिकल्स को भी प्रोत्साहन दे रहे हैं, उसकी तरफ बढ़ रहे हैं और धीरे धीरे कीटनाशकों का कम से कम इस्तेमाल कर रहे हैं।
अब देखो जी, पेट पालना भी ज़रूरी है। आज के समय में पेट पालना ही ज़्यादा ज़रूरी हो रही है।
प्रोग्रेसिव फार्मर जो है इसको अडॉप्ट करने की कोशिश कर रहा है कि बायोलॉजिकल्स का ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा इस्तेमाल किया जाए। थोड़ा वक्त लगेगा, लेकिन चल रहा है काम।
तो ऐसी रसायन अगर कोई बनाते हैं तो सरकार बहुत बल्ले बल्ले है वो तो।
Thank you very much. Thank you. Your applaud says that it was well taken across. I hope the message was appropriate in this regard. As traditional, as you've seen in the documentary also, that we are basically into information dissemination. That's our core belief. And that's what the main difference is between us and other associations. We believe in compiling appropriate information and disseminating it for all stakeholders to use a one-point section where they can refer to with all authentic documents placed under one document. And keeping in with the tradition of BASAI, ladies and gentlemen, we will be releasing 3 books today. The first book is on natural farming. May I ask the panel to kindly rise and reveal the new book? And the other book, ladies and gentlemen, if you may think that we are going way back into history, the other book is on drones. All complete information you will find in this publication. This is here, sir. Yeah. And the third, but not the last publication that's going to be revealed during this event, 2-day event. The third one was inspired by the government of Haryana. So what we've done is we've created a workbook on all plant protection products that have been approved by the government of India with respect to use on fruits and vegetables only. And the purpose of this workbook is to use it as a practical workbook wherein all gaps will be filled across. We tend to share it with all ICR institutes and state agriculture universities, and also study various package of practices where things are amiss that have been recommended by the state, are not approved by the government, or have been approved by the government and not being taken across by the state governments or the farming community. So this will help in plug in the gaps in crop protection products, both chemicals as well as biologicals. Ladies and gentlemen, here we go. And I said this is not the last. I'd just like to also give a warm welcome to, we have got 2 present regulators who are dealing with biologicals. Dr. Vandana Seth from CIB, Secretariat CIB and RC, and Dr. Gujar. Sir, warm welcome, ma'am. And we also have an ex-toxicologist, Dr. Sita Balla amongst us. Madam, warm welcome to you. Earlier, about 2 months back, along with the Bajrang Pratishthan in Barot, we had inaugurated a training manual on safe and judicious uses of pesticides. And that has also opened up the UP chapter of BASAI as far as stewardship is concerned. We are already working with the government of Punjab and Haryana. And we look forward to more collaborations with other organizations and our members also in other states, wherever they feel that there is a need for more education. We would be more than pleased to come across on that part. I would now like to invite amongst us, we have Dr. Vinod Pandit, Regional Director, CABI South Asia Center in India. He has a professional experience of 20 years in promoting sustainable plant health systems and market access programs in the South Asia region. Dr. Pandit has lent his insights and expertise to various governmental bodies, including the National Horticulture Board and APIDA, the Export Development Authority of the Government of India. Dr. Vinod continues to work in collaboration in shaping the future of sustainable agriculture in South Asia and beyond. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Vinod Pandit. Stage is all yours.
Thank you very much, sir. Dignitaries at the desk, esteemed experts, and my dear colleagues and friends. Namaste. It's a real opportunity for me today to be part of this event, part of this program that BASAI has been leading. And a subject which during my research work used to be very close to my heart. But as profession takes forward, I went into a different domain of market access or sanitary and phytosanitary issues. But yeah, the biological control or the sustainable practices has always been at the heart of whatever we do in terms of the agricultural practices. Biological control is definitely a ray of hope. We see from the perspective of minimizing the risk of highly hazardous pesticides. Even if we look it from the lens of a market access, it has a very crucial role because we have to comply with the certain pest and the pesticide requirements of the importing countries, or maybe even from the export point of view as well. From the climate change point of view and the pest resistance point of view. So if we see in a holistic way, the biopesticides or the biological pesticides has a very crucial role in every theme of the agriculture production or agriculture development. I know I am standing in front of experts who has a very rich domain expertise. So I obviously will be, I'm happy to contribute with the same thoughts or maybe strengthen the arguments that we all have been facing. What Chair BASAI was mentioning earlier, or Dr. Vipin was also mentioning about. So these issues are something which are a challenge, and we as a stakeholder have to play or are playing our roles in our own ways, be it a marketing organization, be it an extension agent, or be it a research organization. In CABI, we have been doing a lot of work around the biopesticides. Though we are a very small organization, we may not be working so closely as you are working with the farming community, but we believe it's actually a culture. If we have to make a successful landing of the biopesticides at the farmer's field, if we have to think it in a way that the biopesticides are going to be a real hope for the future, then we have to adopt to that culture. We, as experts, or maybe as the extension agents, we have to see how we can think of considering the user, not the organism, not the pest, what I meant to say. Maybe the farmer, or maybe a researcher, or maybe an extension agent. How difficult it is for him to motivate or to convince a farmer to use the biopesticide or a biological agent. As we all witnessed in the video as well, the farmers were saying, we are producing a 1 acre for our own, whereas we are producing maybe for the market, we are producing it differently. So we use chemicals there. So it's very tough for an extension agent. It's obviously difficult for a researcher. It's obviously difficult for agencies or organizations like ours who are working into the development sector, but from the point of view how it can be sustainable, how the pesticides use can be minimized. We have been working globally. We have been putting our efforts into it. So while working with these different agents or different agencies or different experts, let me call them as the pilots who are actually steering the takeoff or the landing of the biological agents in the farmers' field, helping in their own ways to manage the pest problem. At CABI, we have been thinking it in a very systemic way. We believe that probably the systemic way of managing the crop pest or a disease is the only way that the biological agents can be made successful. So when I say systemic, then we start from the beginning. So are we prepared or are we equipped enough to see that the biopesticide efficiency models are there, which are customized as per the geographical needs? Are they fitting well in the geographies? Okay, now we move to the next step. How a farmer is informed about a pest. I'm sorry, I would be speaking more about the pest and disease because our niche is only pest and disease or a plant health in that term. So are we giving pest alerts to a farmer? Does farmer have an access to the information when the pest is there? We try to work through our different projects or programs. We call it as Pest Risk Information Service, PRICE. It uses the Earth and satellite models to see how pests can be predicted in the beginning. How the pest management approach can be based on the proper diagnosis by creating the systems in a place which help in having an efficient plant doctors in place, or maybe we can call them as agricultural extension agents, which is a normal term, but we give them the name of a plant doctors by capacitating them, by building the capacities through the different stakeholders so that they can provide in timely action. And when I say timely action, we meant to refer to the interventions through the activities like the plant clinics. The plant clinic model of giving an advisory to the farmers, wherein the farmers can come to a plant clinic, have an advice from a plant doctor and see how valuable or how critical or timely action can be taken by the respective farmer. Moving to the next stage, we see that how the access to the information or maybe access to the products can be made possible. So when we say access, then do we have enough resources available? I see today the excellent work that we, as a book, the workbook that Dr. Vipin was mentioning about. I think this is something which probably would be very helpful to the farming community. In the same line, we tried to have the knowledge bank, or what we call as a plant-wise knowledge bank, which has a repository of around maybe 15,000 pests and disease with the critical information about the we call it as a green list, or maybe we say in a layman language is the prevention and monitoring and then direct control. Then again, when we promote the idea of a direct control, it gives emphasis on the green list or a biological control agents, and maybe then seeing the low risk plant protection products that can help farmer in managing the pest. We have also started an initiative on the CABI. We call it as a bioprotection portal. I think some of you may have already seen there's a stall, and which has an information about the different products available globally, customized to the country context, what are available in India, registered by the Department of Agriculture. And this portal is carrying an information about 40 countries across the globe, with all the products registered across in these countries. We feel that this is something can serve as a useful tool for the farmers to have an information maybe on their mobile phones. So all of them are app-based. You can just see which products are registered in India to avoid any duplicates in the market. We are happy to say that हम भी माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी के उद्देश्य में जो कि डिजिटल एग्रीकल्चर या डिजिटल ग्रीन के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से सोच रहे हैं, हम भी उसमें कुछ योगदान कर सकें. सो वी आर प्लेइंग आवर रोल. In this context, I would just like to say that CABI has been in India from last, say, more than 70 years. And the first biological institution, the biological control institution, we call it as a Center for Biological Control, was established down 65 years earlier, maybe 1957 in Bangalore, and which is now known as National Bureau for Agricultural Important Resources, NBAR. Most of you may be again knowing about it. And this was one of the interventions which was in India, and such centers were placed across the globe, maybe around 20 centers, and probably 4 in Asia region. And CABI is actually an intergovernmental organization. It's international intergovernmental organization. We are a UN level treaty agreement organization, and having our work in across 100 countries. In South Asian region, we have the government of India, Bangladesh, and Sri Lanka as the member countries. So we are always open, always happy to discuss with you, to take collaborations further and see how we can assist with whatever expertise we have at our place. Thank you very much. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Vinod. It was really, I believe you left something more important. I don't mind. It's a pretty good one, though.
It's locked.
Man, you're in Delhi. Nothing is locked over here. Thank you. I believe we're slightly short of chairs. We'll just organize more sitting across. Please be patient. I'd like to introduce you. We've got amongst us a very eminent scientist. I've got deep regard for him. Dr. Deepak Pental is amongst us, and he is also the former Vice Chancellor of the University of Delhi. And I don't know whether I should coin him as the father of GM mustard or what to say. But Dr. Pental served as Vice Chancellor, University of Delhi from 2005 till 2010, and then as a professor on 2015 as a professor in genetics, and he continues to work at the Center for Genetic Manipulation of Crop Plants in the University of Delhi. In 2022, he has been awarded the SERB National Science Chair for a period of 3 years. Ladies and gentlemen, a warm round of applause for Dr. Deepak Pental. Can I have the okay, fair enough. Sir, please.
Thank you. Good afternoon. When I saw that the small film that was shown, I felt that the topic I'm going to talk about is a little bit out of place, because we are mostly talking about organic and natural cultivation. But I want to tell the audience that we need all kind of solutions in agriculture. We still need agrochemicals, we still need fertilizers, we need the new technologies also to bring in, because we are not, our yields are barring rice and wheat, our yields are less than the global average in almost all the crops. And I think there is plenty to do by all means to enhance the productivity while not overlooking the biosafety side. I will just briefly tell you about the current regulatory framework through which this mustard has gone. Basically, it's a system to make hybrid seed, and it uses a herbicide, glufosinate, which is produced in India and is out of patent now, but it is used quite quite a bit in around the world, and it is allowed in India for use on tea and a couple of other crops. But in mustard, we only need it for hybrid seed production plots, and we don't require it in the farmer's field to get the heterosis to get more yield. Now, there are some very important new developments in plant breeding. One of them is use of molecular markers. Earlier, our breeders have done great job by phenotypic selection. Like you see bold seeded mustard in India. It's not, you have to work hard, nothing is easy, but visible traits are easy to select. You can select in the progeny plants for bigger seed and for more yield, visible or phenotypic traits which add on to the yield. That's easier to do. But if you want to talk about quality traits, if you want to talk about disease, which sometimes come, which doesn't come, it is better to map these traits onto the genome of the plant, and then transfer it by the marker-assisted breeding, so that you are sure that the trait is going into your recipient material. And genetic engineering, as you know, ever since DNA structure was elucidated by Watson and Crick in the 1950s, there has been a revolution in biology in terms of molecular biology, the molecular basis of life. And this has gone so far that the applications started becoming evident in the 1970s through recombinant DNA work, that you can clone DNA of any organism, put it in a bacteria or in a yeast and multiply it and express it and get, for example, human insulin was the first recombinant DNA product. The same we can do now in plants. Earlier we were limited by sexual crosses. To some extent, plants are more promiscuous. In animal kingdom, if you cross a horse with a donkey, you get a sterile progeny. But in plants, you can cross wheat with wild relatives of wheat and still extract some progeny out from the cross and try to breed in the traits like disease resistance into your crop. But genetic engineering allows you to take a trait from any source, and the finest example of that is Bt cotton, where a gene has been taken from Bacillus thuringiensis. I saw some of the companies selling the bacterial product. The bacteria has the cry proteins, and you can spray the bacteria, or you can spray the spores of the bacteria which contain large amounts of these proteins and protect your crop, and that is allowed in organic cultivation also. But as you know, the GM crops have been controversial, and there are multiple reasons for that. Some people feel that they are going to come only through multinationals. Some people say it is a very unnatural process, and some people, like most of the people, we are scared today. Why we have so much love for natural farming? Because everybody is living longer, ending up in having one or the other health-related issues, and we tend to ascribe it all to the food we eat, rather than our not taking exercise or not taking enough precautions for our health. But that's the way the things are. Gene editing is a very recent technology. Remember, in the 60s, we mutagenized almost all our crops to get new variability. And nobody bothered at that time how much havoc we were creating in the genome of the plant by irradiating it. Because for one mutation that you want, there will be hundreds of other mutations in the plant which you will have to weed out. but genome editing gives you precision to mutate the specific gene. And with the knowledge of genomics, unfortunately, we tend to do everything in a half-hearted way. We started well in the genomics area, but other countries have done far, far more work. And almost all the crops that are grown around the world are sequenced. Not only crop plant is sequenced, their wild relatives have been sequenced, and in many cases, a lot of germplasm has also been sequenced. So the amount of knowledge that we have about crops today is phenomenal. And the challenge for us is how best we can use it in a safe manner to manipulate our crops. The good news is that in 2002, we released BT cotton. The activists who don't like GM crops say that BT cotton is a failure because the BT gene does not take care of Pectinophora pink bollworm any longer. But if you looked at the whole history of the biological evolution, our own experiences, you know that there is an arms race between the host and the pathogen and pests. The pest is always trying to breach the defenses of the plant. The plant is slower in evolution because the generation time is longer, while let's say the fungal pest or an insect pest breeds much faster and is able to break through, whether it's a pesticide or it is a gene. So this is a known fact. To ascribe Pectinophora developing resistance to the cry proteins that are present in BT cotton is really, one should say, is complete ignorance of the whole issue. Dr. Singh has to go, so we could have allowed him to speak first, but I will try to complete it in 5 minutes' time. That's okay.
So we can continue after his address if you feel like.
Oh, he is most welcome to go ahead first. But I have to also leave now.
Please.
So the mustard production is not enough. We import huge amount of edible oils. This year around 160,000 crores, which is not a good sign for a country where more than 50% of the population is on farming, or at least 40-45% is on farming alone. And our yield, you can see, as compared to Canada and China, where short duration rapeseed is grown, is less. It has increased recently due to a hybrid from Pioneer, which yields more than the varieties, and that's how the yield has gone higher. Now, I have no time now to describe the Barnes-Barstar system because it has been cleared. And the good news is that the government has finally taken the step of releasing another crop. The case is still in the Supreme Court, where all kind of arguments are given by the petitioners, which have no scientific logic, but that's the way things are going. And the government, fortunately, has put their case very strongly this time. And I hope that the court will not interfere with the government's public policy making role. So we hope that this will lead to increase in yield. Lot of tests were done, all in India, and it took about 4 or 5 years of testing and so on. Multi-site trials. I must thank ICR to conduct the trials on these plants, and this is a site of where the trials were done, and a huge study on the biosafety. This technology of hybrid seed production was released in Canada in rapeseed in 1996. In 2002 in the United States, and 2003 in Australia. So it is out in the field for last more than 20 years with no ill effect of any kind seen. But we still did all the tests in India so that we develop the confidence and we develop the know-how of how to deal with the biosafety issues on the transgenic crops. It's on 25th October 2022 that MOFC gave a final approval to GM mustard for environmental release. With some precautionary recommendations, it's still being followed. There was a big concern that bees may get affected, although there is no report from US, Canada, or Australia that bees are affected. But we want to do some tests on bees in India, and we don't mind because we have to look at what apprehensions are, and maybe collecting some data, people will know how to track the bee activities and so on and so forth. So GM mustard has not been released as a herbicide tolerant crop. Herbicide glufosinate is only required in hybrid seed production plots. The use of glufosinate by farmers is not required in the fields. A good pollination control mechanism is required for one-time development, and developing productive hybrids is a continuous activity. We all know that. I don't need to tell more about that, but activists see that this is the end of the day. Now, this is what I want to emphasize to the audience, and I have only one or two more slides which I want to show, and then I will hand it over to Dr. Singh because he has to go. Mustard yields are going to stagnate because we have major disease problems with mustard. Stem rot is a major issue. White rust is a major issue. Alternaria doesn't allow it to be taken to cooler areas like foothills and hilly tracts. And we have Orobanche, a root parasite which is creating havoc in Rajasthan. And aphids have been there for all the time. They have been there. They have breached the defenses of all crucifer species. You can grow any crucifer, they'll come to it. So what are the solutions for it? For Orobanche, it is glyphosate, and we have made glyphosate resistant plants. Recently, there is a beautiful work on genome editing by my student and now a scientist in his independent right, where he has removed glucosinolates from the seed while keeping these secondary metabolites in the leaf and other parts of the plant. If you make it all low glucosinolate, the pests come, herbivores eat it up, birds eat it up. So it didn't look successful story to us to make low glucosinolate mustard. But now we have low glucosinolate in seed, so the meal is free of glucosinolates, seed meal, and that can be fed to poultry and other animals, and it will be very nutritional for them. My last slide is something which you are all dealing with, and which I think we need to get to some understanding on. In the developed countries, in all recombinant DNA products, a lot of research is done in the public sector, in the universities and institutions. It's immediately patented and given over to transnationals now, for example, not even small companies. Or the scientists make their own small companies which get sold off to the larger companies with deeper pockets. In India, we want to discourage patenting for many reasons, particularly in the agriculture side. And this is an issue which we could discuss. I'm sure you guys are discussing it a lot in your discussions. So that's all what I have to say. I will end by saying that we need all kind of technologies, and everybody, all of us as scientists and as entrepreneurs, as industrialists, we must see that the safety and the biosafety of the people who use these chemicals or genes is assured of. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Really enlightening. And this is why I wanted Dr. Pental to be in the inaugural, because this was one of the latest technologies that are being foreseen in the near future to come across. Ladies and gentlemen, our chief guest has got a pressing meeting. He's already probably delayed, but may I call upon Dr. P.K. Singh, the Agriculture Commissioner, Government of India, and also happens to chair the Central Fertilizer Control Committee and the Central Biostimulant Committee under the FCO and the Registration Committee under the Insecticides Act. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. P.K. Singh.
Professor Pental, and other dignitaries on the dais and off the dais. Friends, it's very heartening to see all the gathering here for biologicals, but most of them are common in chemicals also. So, as Agriculture Commissioner, I should not just focus on, for me, it's all same. It's a product. It is an innovation. It is a product. If someone is bringing nano urea, nano DAP, that is also a product. How it has to be used, that is either R&D organizations or the farmers have to decide. So for me, all are same because I have to chair the committee for registration of all the three. So for me, it's all the same. And as someone said that this in his film also he has shown that farmers are saying that बहुत ज़्यादा जहर हो गया है, ये हो गया है. It's not like that. We should not undermine the effect of one just to promote the other. Even now we cannot say that all the biologicals will go in organic farming because they may have something that sometime how it is organic, if it is humic acid, folic acid, all or amino acids or vitamins, how it is sourced, that is also very important. How can we say it is all good for organic? And so that is there. So let us focus on 3-4 points. What in further discussions you can all focus. That is, inputs are very important, and the quality of input. How we are going to have traceability of those inputs in the market. Who are those manufacturers? Good ones are good, and then spurious are always spurious. So how to check those quality inputs and how to weed out those manufacturers from the market, and how to make your product more effective and more user friendly, more economical to the farmers. That is very important. First point is that. Now with the progress in the field of say varietal development, if some resistant variety or tolerant variety is coming in the market, so there may be a lot of shifts in the demand of the inputs. If it is say insect tolerant variety, then the requirement of this, and if you are just going to check your biopesticide or biostimulant on a tolerant variety, definitely it will show very good result. But whether it is good on susceptible one also, or in the changing climate regime, is it going to give you the same effect in north, south, east, west, all localities? That is also has to be tested. So don't think that one biostimulant and then it will go throughout the country and all crops and all conditions. This will not going to happen. Then we are trying to make some biologicals as non-toxic. We will just tweaking this gadget notification and then making 4 categories under non-toxic one. So that definitely will reduce the cost of this regulation and testing and all those things. But then there should not be any mixture in that. Once we are saying it is non-toxic, it should not be containing anything else than what is being claimed. So that is otherwise that purpose is defeated. If it becomes toxic due to the pesticide load or some other things, so it will be not in a good way. Otherwise, we are trying to simplify the regulation. We are trying to simplify the data collection, bioefficacy. All those things are we are trying to simplify in that way. And we hope that the industry will support us in accepting all these regulations, because the material which has been submitted to us earlier as G2 or G1 and all those, it's such a difficult mixture. It is even more difficult to understand. Just I was reading Sir Khorakiwala's name. It is very difficult to pronounce that. In the same way, it is very difficult to identify those chemicals, those biostimulants. Where it is lead, where it is zinc, where it is copper, how it is coming in the biological, I don't know. So many nutrients, so many pesticides, so many things are coming in. I don't know which seaweed is giving you the pesticide in the product. That is and such 30,000 applications. So you have to we have to weed out these good ones should continue and then the bad ones should go. Whether they are from MSME, they are claiming that we are a small industry, we will be wiped out. So how can we allow you to mix pesticide in vitamins and then sell in the market? सो एक बहुत पुराना एग्जाम्पल है, कोई गांव पे आदमी था, कैंसर वैंसर, उसको पेट का कुछ हल्का फुल्का था, तो वो अपने गांव के वैद्य को दिखाया तो कुछ दवाई वैद्यों में नहीं ठीक हुआ। तो फिर एक दिन कहा कि बड़ा दर्द होता है, तो कहें जाओ जाके संखिया खा लो। संखिया कहते हैं वो कॉपर एंड ऑल दैट मिक्सचर, दैट इज संखिया नो। तो वो जाके थोड़ा सा खा लिया, उसको आराम हो गया। आके उसके बाद सबको घूम घूम के प्रचार करने लगा दैट संखिया इज द मेडिसिन फॉर कैंसर। इज इट सो? अरे वो कहा कि जाओ संख्या खा के मर जाओ। तो सो दैट काइंड ऑफ सिचुएशन शुड नॉट अराइज कि आप कुछ मिल गया किसी को, समवन सम ट्रेडिशनल वर्क इज गोइंग ऑन एंड सम फार्मर इज यूजिंग समथिंग एंड just someone adopted that and then make a small one room industry and then started selling that and then applied for कि फॉर लास्ट 3 years तो कोई नहीं मरा साहब, हमें दे दो। दैट कैन नॉट बी ए वे इन द फ्यूचर। वी हैव टू रेगुलेट इट सो दैट वी कैन गो टू अप टू द ग्लोबल मार्केट एंड आवर infusion or ingress in the global market will only be then when it is of quality. We have to maintain the quality. Even seaweeds, CMFRI is they are here. Some scientist is there, so they know that whatever seaweed is being produced in Bhavnagar and what is being produced in Gulf of Mannar, they have totally different composition. So how to regulate? Then we also we thought that okay, we will be just going in for the tracer molecules. And then those tracer molecules can be used to identify, yes, is it that is really a green sea product or it is a red green seaweed or red seaweed, whatever it is that. So that kind of thing we are that way we are trying to simplify, but we hope that all of you will see that the quality and the quantity also is manageable and that it should not it will never wipe out the agrochemicals or it will never wipe out the nutrients in form of what we are taking in fertilizers. So only yesterday we have seen that the demand of urea is going to increase at least 5-10 times in next 20-30 years. So there is no chance of replacing all those fertilizers by unnecessary. Such claims should not be made that our biological products are going to replace nutrients, it will replace all the agrochemicals. Nothing is going to happen like that. All have to develop. They have their own niche. Everybody knows that their market is limited and that in that market the best ones should flourish. That is what I feel. So today I don't have much time because there is a ministerial meeting in animal husbandry department, and that reminds me that now we are progressing towards one health approach. So right from microbes to plants to animals to human, everyone will now be linked in one health system. Earlier it was only plant and animals, but now we are linking human health in that also. So one health means for all. So biostimulants not only for plants, biostimulants for animal feed, animal health, that can also be a very good new market for fishery sector, for animal husbandry sector, and all those that can be done. So okay, we will discuss it in much more detail. Anytime anyone can come to me and we can discuss it in detail. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for stating what are the ifs and buts on biologicals, and I can assure you that all members of our association and all members of the biological community also over here, I assure you that we are responsible companies and we have applied with all necessary data in this regard. So, ladies and gentlemen, now we'll proceed with the a round of momentum. Sir, if you can just give me 5 minutes, sir. Just 5 minutes. Mahesh. Yeah. Mahesh, can I have the chief guest? Yeah. May I request the chairperson, Zuzar Khurakiwala, to present a momentum of appreciation to Dr. P.K. Singh, please. May I request Dr. Zuzar Khurakiwala to also present a moment of honor to Dr. Deepak Painter, please. And also to Dr. Vinod Pandit. Vinod, you've been quite enlightening in bioprotection field. Thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, we'll break for just 2 minutes. In the meantime, we'll organize the rest of things. We're going to have a group picture, please. Can we just stand over here? Okay. Thank you. I'll stand it over here. Right, sir. Right, sir. हाँ वो सर वो हाँ एक मिनट मत Thank you very much. May I request video number 2 of The Village to be played, please? In the meantime, we'll just reset the stage for the next session. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll begin immediately with our next session. May I call upon Mr. Ferran Soldevila, Managing Director, Sun Chemical Services. Ferran holds a degree in economics from Barcelona University and University of Rotterdam, Holland. His main fields of expertise are regulatory advisory, as a regulatory advisor on fertilizers, biostimulants, and biopesticides in different regions around the world. He is a founder member of the Fertilizer Consultants Network and has been active to the new FPR law 2019/1009, being a member of CTN UNE 142 G3. Frankly speaking, it's a Spanish mirror of the group CEN/TC455. These are more technical for me, man. So just to understand what these all are, may I welcome upon Dr. Ferran. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you.
To reproduce this, sorry. It's okay.
Okay, just can I have 2 minutes of yours?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, out of excitement and all this chaos, may I request our Vice Chair, Sandeepa Khan, to give a word of thanks. Come, ma'am. Yeah. Sorry. I mean, everybody has left in such a rush. Dr. Deepak Painter is attending the Biotech and Abiotic Stress event in Raipur. And anyway, my apologies for that. Please.
What happened? No, it's okay.
So thank you, Vipin. In fact, I've been called late to say the vote of thanks. So first of all, I thank, who is not there right now, Dr. Singh, who was the chief guest to have attended BASAI. Then secondly, Dr. Vinod Pandit of CABI. I wanted to say cite 2 or 3 things which are important on their speech, but as they are not there, it would be better for me to talk tomorrow more on this. Then also thank Dr. Deepak Pental for giving his insights on the gene kind of manipulation which is required. In fact, all types of technologies which are required. Last but not the least, I would like to thank the exhibitors who have supported us, BASAI, and are here with their products and also people. We also thank the platinum sponsor at the moment, Biostat and CanBiosis, and also Acadian as a kit sponsor and a tea sponsor for IPL, Geolife, PI Industries. And I can't see that small thing. Rabicides, I'm sorry, but none of the names should be missed, that is why. And pardon my spectacles. I also like to thank, last but not the least, Vipin Saini, who has been always energetic in supporting the events of BASAI and has been able to, further the voice of BASAI in all the government departments. And also, he has been instrumental in getting all the people together, not only for biologicals, but also of chemicals. So thank you all for being here and patiently listening to all the speakers they had to say about biologicals. And we hope that we have the products which can speak for themselves with respect to supporting chemicals in their own might and right. Thank you so much.
Hello to everybody. First of all, thank you to BASAI Association to invite us. I mean, the world should have more association like this because basically we have not a clean planet. And what we have to do is to reduce a little bit the chemicals that we are using on the fields and to try to implement biological products for the future. Today, in my session, basically I'm going to explain a little bit about biological market trends. For this, I've been in contact with an American company, and I'm going to put here some figures about the use of biologicals worldwide to understand what are the deep markets, the value markets, and so on. Then I will start deeply on a new European law. I don't know if you are aware, but in Europe we changed the European law for biostimulant and for fertilizers in 2022. So the law was published in 2019, but the entering in force was 2022. I said not biologicals because, biopesticides is completely outside this law. I'm going to explain a little bit about biopesticides, but they are not fulfilling the same law. Then I'm going to go directly to what we call Module B. Module B is, and this will be more some trends for your regulatory people in your own companies, what an Indian company should do to register a biostimulant or a biofertilizer in Europe. And then, that is very important for you, I'm going to give some traits about how to conduct the efficacy trials, and at the end, a little bit about the value and the cost and the time to do that in Europe. So let's just start with some biological market trends and drivers in Europe. So Europe in the last 10 years has changed a lot. Not only about what we would like to do, also what we are doing. Why? Because Europe wants to become the first climate neutral 2050. This was approved for the European Parliament, and they are implementing a lot of different laws to achieve this goal. If we are now on an agro sector, the two most important laws that we apply are the Green Deal and Farm to Fork. And it is not a matter that just put some laws. It's a matter to try to achieve that. And to do that, you can see here the two next steps. One is European Union wants to reduce the synthetic chemical products by 50% till 2013. This is a mandate from the European Parliament. So means that in the coming years, there will be a lot of chemical pesticides that will be banned in Europe. This means that the disease will disappear in Europe? No. This means that we need to open Europe for a new solutions, being biostimulants, being biopesticides, to try to replace these products. Yeah, but what is for sure is that this is going to happen. Second one is we want to reduce also and use less fertilizers on the fields, because you know that most of these fertilizers that we are sending or using, not all of them are used for the plant. So we are somehow contaminating a little bit the soils in Europe. Yeah? And the last one is that to promote all of that, Europe has launched a new EU law. That is basically what I'm going to explain today to all of you. So let's first go to some market trends. These figures that not belong to my association. So here you have the source and the American company that gave me these figures and give me the right to use these figures today in front of you. So basically you can see how are the trends for this biological market in the future. This is a global value. Means that we are on a sector that everything is going to grow. We do not see in biologicals any market being biofertilizers, being biostimulants or biopesticides. No one of them is going to decrease worldwide. Why? Because we should substitute the chemical ones. So all these markets will grow and grow and grow. So you are in the right moment to invest in all these markets. Here you can see some figures. I'm not going to go in detail because I'm sure the presentation that I have today will be available for all of you. In terms of what's going to grow more, here you can see that biostimulants that are in the lower part of the graphic are the ones that maybe are going to grow more. You can see biostimulants, microbial biostimulants will be the ones that starts from the lowest, but will grow rapidly in the coming years. At least this is the trends, what this American company says. Let's go directly about markets, figures. That are figures in billions. And here you can see in biocontrol. Biocontrol means for this company, biopesticides plus microorganism business. Both of them together. The most important market worldwide is United States plus Canada. Second one is Europe. Why American is more important than Europe? Easy to understand. To register a biopesticide in America, the investment is around, I would say, $1 million, and it takes in between 1.5 to 2 years. To register exactly the same product in Europe, you will spend in between 8 and 10 years, and you need to invest in between 2-3 million euros. So this is why there's a lot of solutions that are available today in the States, and they are not available in Europe. Okay, you see the other markets. Latin America in biocontrol is growing a lot, and Asia and Pacific also. So you know that these markets are still really important ones and will grow in the coming years for sure. What about microbials biostimulants? You can see here that Europe is almost nothing, or it's not an important market. Why? It's due to the regulation. In Europe, we did not promote microbials in the last 5 or 10 years. Our law is, I would say, more restricted than the Indian one or the American one. This is why there's not much solutions in Europe. This is why the market is smaller compared with the others. But take care with some specific markets that they are growing so fast in microbials. When we start the humans using microbials in soybean production, you know how big is soybean production in Latin America. So this is why you see these figures of Latin America. So depending on the crops that we are using microbials and depending for what, these figures can change in the coming years so fast. Because microbials, biostimulant microbials, are not, I would say, the most developed markets. We need to do much more to help plants to be strong by themselves and to not use much chemicals. And the last figure in terms of data is non-microbials biostimulants. Here you can see that the biggest market worldwide is Europe. Why? Because it's easy to register non-microbial biostimulant in Europe. So always the markets and the trends and the volumes are related to regulator. Why? because companies are there's clever people in front of the companies. If I need to invest too much to Europe, then I go to the United States. If in India the regulation is not the best one, but I'm a good chemistry and I'm able to develop a good product, when I will go? Wherever in the world it is possible. Yeah. So people, we are moving, we are traveling. So this is why, depending on the law, you can see different figures. Let's end for figures and let's start about the new European law. Yeah. Let me explain a little bit that big change, because believe me, I'm not, I would say, a fan of the European laws. I'm not a member of the parliament, I'm running a private company, but I've been so critical with European politicians. But believe me that this law, I will never criticize this law. This is a really good law, and other countries should learn about this law, because it's, at the end, something easy to register, not expensive, and the time to market is a low one, less than 1 year. This is what companies need. Companies cannot wait 5 years to register something. Companies need to develop a product, and the time to market needs to be as fast as possible. So let's see first, Europe. To register a fertilizer, biofertilizer or biostimulant, you have two different ways. One is what we have been doing in the last 25 years. You still can go and follow Spanish law, or follow the French law, or the German law. All these laws are still valid in Europe. So you can go and register one biostimulant only in Germany. What you should do? You should follow German law, and you will get one registration in which one you will be able to sell only in German. What is the new one? Second one, 1009-2019, a law that was published 2019, but the entering in force was July 2022. So it's a really new law. Last year was the first global year that companies could register using this law. This law means that one dossier, one registration, access to 27 EU countries. So that's a big difference on that. I'm not going to put the law here and go in deeply detail about all of that. I don't want to be this poor guy, but let me just put what it's the summary. Yeah, the law is divided in 4 different annexes. First one is what we call PFC, product function categories. Second important annex is about the components that we are using to formulate the biostimulant or the fertilizer. Third one is how to label the product, which is the label that we will use to market the product. And third one is about what we should do. Voice is coming. Okay. And the fourth one is about what is the conformity assessment, what a company should do in order to register the product. Okay, what is the way? Let's start with functions. New European biostimulant and fertilizer law. Which are the functions that the law accepts? Yeah, you can see that you can place a product being a fertilizer, a liming material, soil improver, growing medium, inhibitors, biostimulant, or a mixture of any of those. We call it blenders, it's CFP7, okay? All of these, depending on the function of your product, then the requirements are completely different in the law. Starting from the most easiest ones, fertilizers, that you can register fertilizers in 3 months and not many documents in Europe right now due to this law. And maybe the most difficult one is biostimulants, okay? So here you have for the first time what for Europe is a biostimulant, that I'm sure is completely different from what you understand from a biostimulant in India. It's completely different from what the Americans understand it is a biostimulant. So this is why I'm always putting the definition of a biostimulant, because we need to have all of us the same on our head. Otherwise, we are speaking about maybe the same words, but different things. Yeah? Biostimulant in Europe is something that at the end can prove, due to efficacy trials, about 4 claims. And so if somebody asks me why there's only 4 and there's not 5 claims or whatever, this is what the law at the end defined. Yeah. So a biostimulant in Europe is a product that can help to use nutrient use efficiency, that can be or reduce tolerance to abiotic stress, can improve quality strains on the plants, or has this ability of confining nutrients in the soil. This is for Europe, what we call the claims. So if you have a product in India, you can generate some efficacy trials and you can prove any one of those 4, you have a biostimulant that could be registered in Europe. Okay? So this is what we call the PFC, so the product function categories. But then, what about the raw materials? Am I able to use any raw material to generate a product that at the end will be registered in Europe? Not everything, but believe me, this is a really open law. Open law means that today we have 15 CMC, component material category. This means that all raw materials, being for, I don't know, zinc sulfate or any amino acid coming from hydrolyzed vegetable origin. So all these different components can be mixed and you can create a product. But before that, all of these components need to be classified as a CMC. So you need to understand that if you put together 5 products and you generate a fertilizer or you generate a biostimulant, these 5 raw materials that you are putting together, each one needs to be classified as a CMC. So you can see this list. The law starts with 12. Now we have 15. Means that the law is really open. Every year, they are increasing or they are putting more CMC. Why? Because Europe wants to use as much materials as possible to generate fertilizers, because at the end, this means reuse of products. This means that maybe waste products can be used as fertilizers, and all of this helps to the planet. As much waste things we can recover and get a second use, less we will destroy our planet. Let me just put an example here about one restriction, CMC7, microorganisms. Is what I tell to you before. Europe is not so good in terms of virus microorganisms, or at least we have too much restrictions. You know better than me that the list of microbials and virus registered in India could be much more huge list compared with this. Sorry, we need to start with these 4, and I'm sure in the coming years Europe will implement a long list. But today the only 4 available for register are these 4. I'm not going to explain anything about labels. That was the 3rd annex of the law, but I'm going to explain a little bit what is the conformity assessment. What the company need to do to get a registration. So here Europe divided the difficulty in 4 different stages. The easiest one is module A. The most difficult one is module D1. Let me put an example. Do you want to register a fertilizer? Yeah, a fertilizer that contains some macronutrients and some raw materials that you put together, not containing any waste product, any microorganisms, or any, I would say, product that could have some concerns. Yeah, if you want to do that, you need to generate a module A. Module A, it's, I would say, a dossier that identifies well the raw materials, the product, has some analytical part. I mean, I would say that we need to explain clearly how you are manufacturing the product, that you don't have any pathogen or any contamination, heavy metals and so on, but it's not so strict. With, I would say, a small dossier, nothing about GLP studies, nothing about anything that you have in mind. Yeah, in 3 months, we can generate a registration in Europe. You get access to 27 countries and you can sell any fertilizer. This is what we call module A. If the product contains a high quantity of nitrogen, more than 24, you know that some products can be explosive. Then we cannot perform module A. We need to go to module A1. A1, the requirements are a little bit more complicated. but basically are more complicated in terms of the analysis, explosive analysis, and some specific tests that we need to conduct. Yeah? And then we arrive to Module B. I'm going to explain in detail afterwards Module B, but Module B is the one that we need to use for biostimulants. Yeah? Here, the big difference is that we not only need to perform and add a lot of documents, also we need to prove the efficacy trials on the field. So here is the first module that we need to spend money in efficacy trials. And the last one, D1, that I never recommend that for an Indian company, is if you have a really long pipeline of products, biostimulants, fertilizers in your own factory, and you want to being audit for the European Union, in order that they grant you that each product that came out from a factory can have access to Europe. That's just a long process and so expensive. But some companies in Europe, they are doing. So basically here, it is not a matter to submit one dossier. It's a matter that the European Union audit your factory. And if the factory, the quality system that you have, everything has been approved, then you get access to all products coming out from this factory to the market. Okay? I will not recommend, not because you are not producing well. I will not recommend because you are too far away from Europe. Why this new law? Why Europe decided to change this law and has been a big, big change? Basically, to promote circular economy. Second one, to solve cadmium problems. In Europe, we have a lot of cadmium problems on the soil. Open for market niches, promote innovation, and addressing dual-use problems. So this is the aim of the law. But basically, what the regulators wanted to do was to create a single market. In the last 25 years, to go to Europe was like in the States. In the States, it's like this today. If you want to go and register to United States, you go to California and you do one registration. Then you go to Georgia and you do one registration. Then you go to Texas and you do another registration. Europe was like this. Now we change. One registration, get access to all Europe. So the aim was single market. And second one was, you don't have the same rules in Texas than in California, but they belong to the same state. In Europe was exactly the same problem in the past. In France, they were a little bit more restricted maybe than in Spain. So the European Union said, come on guys, we need to establish a certain or basic rules for all European countries. The scope of the application is all this list of products that you can see here. So you can see inhibitors, biostimulants, growing media. So this law specifically can be applied for all these different types of products and cannot be applied to animal byproducts, components or products, and PPP products, means pesticides. We have a completely different law to register a pesticide in Europe, and no one of the pesticides can be registered fulfilling the biostimulant and fertilizer law. What are the requirements for this law? I put here just a small example. I mean, your regulatory team, if they speak directly with us, we will send the list of requirements and so on. But they are not the big requirements, believe me. Maybe they are somehow so restrictive in heavy metals, so there are some raw materials that cannot be used in Europe due to the cadmium content or any other contaminant. But if you are using a good raw materials or you are sourcing for natural places in which one they do not have heavy metals, you fulfill the first one, level of contaminants. Then pathogens. We need to prove that you don't have any pathogen contamination in your products. Then, of course, labeling. All products needs to be labeling at the same. And here it came in the labeling something that maybe did not like much to the European companies. We need to write all the components that we are using to manufacture our product that are above 5%. So companies don't like that because it seems that you are opening your recipe to your competitors. But at the end, this is the law. And all components that are above 5% needs to be listed in the label. Let's go directly now to a biostimulant module B. If you remember what I explained to you, the conformity assessment, yeah, that's, I would say, a little bit more difficult than the others. So if you are an Indian company and you want to register a biostimulant in Europe, what you should do? First of all, you need to create an administrative dossier. This can be done by your regulatory department and any consultant in Europe that can help you. Second one, you need to perform efficacy trials. To prove what? To prove that your product is a good biostimulant. So if you remember previously that we spoke about 4 claims, use of efficient of nutrients, antibiotic stress, yeah? So you need to prove one of the 4 claims, generating efficacy trials. Third one, and that's so important to understand how this law has changed a lot in Europe. Your registration, your new product will have the marker CE. I don't know if you know better this logo, CE, yeah? The Europeans, we believe in the past that CE means product produced in Europe. That's not true. CE means product complying with European rules. So can an Indian company produce a biostimulant in India and put CE on the label and sell to Europe? Yes, if you fulfill European rules. Yeah? And this can be granted due to the process of getting a registration of a biostimulant in Europe. And the third one, we have many documents that we call Declaration of Conformity, that basically means that you sign that you are fulfilling the law. Who should perform a Module B? We say clearly that Module B needs to be done by all biostimulant and inhibitors, but also the law, as this is the conformity assessment, that it's a little bit more difficult, yeah? If any of the fertilizers, liming materials, soil improvers, or growing medium has included in their formula, or an inhibitor, or a plant, parts of the plants, or botanical extracts, or microorganisms, so all these lists that you can see here, it doesn't matter if it's a fertilizer. They need to perform a Module B. Okay, so Europe says, okay, I'm going to give access fast and easy for fertilizers, but fertilizers that contain this needs to perform a Module B. Efficacy trials. I know, because I've been performing some efficacy trials here in India, I know how expensive are the efficacy trials here in India. Europe is not the cheapest region in the world, but I would say that more or less the price is quite comparable. And about what you are paying for an efficacy trial here in India and what you will pay in Europe. More or less is the same price, I would say, more or less. How many efficacy trials we need to conduct? Depending what do you want to claim on your label. If you want to register one biostimulant that in the label it's written, my biostimulant is for tomato, then means that you want to register in one crop. One crop means 3 efficacy trials. You see the figures here, 3, 6, 8, and 9. Yeah, 3 means one crop. 6 means one group of crops. Europe has divided all their crops in 3 groups. Are the 3 groups that you can see in the right hand. Yeah, of course, there's many other crops that I cut the list. But basically is vegetables and ornamentals is one group. Second one is woody perennials, and then we have a group that I would say with all the others. Yeah? If you want 2 groups in your label, then you should do 8 efficacy trials. And if your company wants to have a label in Europe covering all European crops, you should perform 9 efficacy trials. Okay? This part is the most expensive one. So to generate the registration, to pay the taxes to the notified body, so all the other, I would say it's almost nothing. What it's expensive is this. Yeah? Let's go for something that today the politicians already left, so we do not have many politicians here, but this I'm really, really satisfied about that. Because in Europe we had a problem in the past, and we are still having a big problems to register biopesticides. Why we said that to register a biopesticide in Europe it takes 8 years? Because you submit the dossier and nobody takes care about your dossier till maybe 5 years. later. So that's the big problem. So maybe the politicians, they are not putting enough workers, yeah, to take care about the dossier that the private companies are submitting. Yeah, European Union knows that. So when they decided to create this new law, instead of giving in the hands of the public workers the approve of a dossier, they decided to move to a private companies. So here you can see a list of logos that most of them are from different countries. These are private companies that they will be evaluating your dossiers. Yeah? And why this is so good? Because they are private companies. You can deal with them. You can call them. They are answering all your emails because they want you to register as much as dossier as possible because they want to do money. Yeah. So if they are not giving a good service on the market, people will know, and then they will not work anymore with this company. So the service that we are receiving from those guys are a good one. So to register after submitting a dossier with the new law, the time that these guys spend to evaluate the dossier, it's in between 1.5 months, maximum 2 months. That's nothing. That's nothing compared with years and years in other countries. Yeah? Are all of them equal? No. They have different prices, different timings, yeah, because they are private companies. So at the end, you should maybe deal with some of them or get the advice from some consultancy companies that we have been working with all of them. And we will give some advices to you, that which one is faster, which one take more concerns depending on the of the dossier, and so on. But these are private companies that will be the ones issuing the registration in the name of the European authority. But will be a private company who will issue that. So at the end, to make a summary here, Ferran, you speak a lot, but basically what I should do. So basically, first of all, we need to do a dossier classification. So you inform us about your product and your components, yeah? And we will do the dossier classification. Then we need to check about another European law that it's called REACH, yeah? Because this is the chemical institution that wants to be all chemicals in Europe safety and so on, similar to CSMR that you have here in India. Yeah, so basically we need to cross-check your components with this European law. Third one is we need to perform efficacy trials, and then we need to go for evaluation directly. Evaluation is so fast, as I explained to you. So you need first to take the decision from whom to work of all those companies, and then generate an application to them. You get an offer in terms of price, you sign the documents with them, you send the dossier to them, they make a cross-check. If everything is okay, they will inform you that they start the evaluation, and after 3-4 weeks, if there's not any concern, if it's any concern, they will give time to you to solve these concerns. You get the registration, European registration, that will be valid for 27 countries. What are the principal problems that we face during 1 year? Because this is a really new law, as I explained to you. So in 1 year, we should see some specific problems. We make a survey to these certifications bodies, these companies that are private and are giving to you the registrations. And they told us, most of the problems that we are facing, because the law is so new, is that companies, they don't want how to classify CMCs. So that's a big problem. You can read the law, but to classify the components is not easy. Take a hand or make some help with some consultancy company if you are facing this problem. Second one is companies from around the world wants to register in Europe, yeah? But maybe the analytical part that is not so expensive, companies wants to do it in the United States, in China, or in India. Take care, because the methods of analysis that are requested in the law are an European ones. Yeah? So something that could be so cheap to send a sample in an EU lab and to make the test, if it's done here in India or in the United States, you can do it. Law allowed to do tests outside Europe. but they need to do and use method of analysis in each parameter that are the European ones. If you do that, you can do it in India. But this guy said this is also a problem. A lot of American companies with a different methods of analysis of some parameters, and then you cannot register the product. Third one is efficacy trials, poor ones. I don't know in India, but in Europe, before this law, everybody had 120 biostimulants in their portfolio. And at the end, they were not real biostimulants. So now that you need to go and do efficacy trials and prove that it's a real biostimulant, now the companies in Europe don't have much biostimulants in their portfolio. Maybe they have 5 or 6. Why? Because of efficacy trials. If the efficacy trial is so poor, you cannot prove the claims, you will not be registered. So this is an important part also. And the last one, and his effect to a double use. I will not be so long in double use, but before this law, any component that was known that has a pesticide use, any component that has a pesticide use could not be used as a biostimulant. Yeah, so before 2022, if you want to use neem, that everybody knows that from neem it comes azadirachtin, and azadirachtin is a compound for a pesticide, they said to you, no, you cannot register that as a biostimulant. Now the law is completely different. If you can prove that neem is a good biostimulant, and you fulfill all the requirements that are under biostimulant law, neem can be registered. It doesn't matter if neem has another use. But of course, the label that you will get will be a label that will explain that you are putting on the market a biostimulant and will not reflect anything about the other use. Yeah? And second one, the dosage of a biostimulant never can be higher than a pesticide. Otherwise, we will have problems with residues. Yeah? That's a big change. That's a big change on this law. I'm going to end my presentation. I think this is the last one. So here you get some recommendations about how to register a biostimulant in Europe. Basically, take care about efficacy trials is the expensive part. Don't cheat any company in Europe saying that, look, my product contains this, and at the end contains other things, because at the end your consultant wants to help you and wants to explain right what you can register and what not, because at the end that's not fair, I would say. And basically, you will read these recommendations. Let me like this. 2 more slides just to explain about REACH. REACH is similar to CMSR that you have here in India. If you want to export biostimulants to Europe, you need to fulfill REACH requirements. That's so expensive or not expensive depending on the components that you have. Here what is good for you is that in Europe we have groups of components. So if you want to register zinc sulfate, or you are using zinc sulfate to one of your products, you need to get access to the REACH zinc sulfate in Europe. But maybe that could be 120 companies that they already pay for all the studies. They already generate GLP studies, toxicology, everything. And Europe accepts this component as being used as a fertilizer. If this happens and you are an Indian company and you want to go to Europe, it's easy. You contact directly this group, or you contact a consultancy company. We will speak with these guys and say, an Indian company wants to join you. What is the price? And they will give a price, and if you pay this price, a letter of access. You don't need to do anything else. So it's quite easy. But you cannot start selling products to Europe if you do not prove that you fulfill with REACH. Yeah? REACH components are this CMC that you have here in the list. So not all the components needs to fulfill about REACH. We have CMC2, for instance, that is exempt from REACH. And the last one is price and time to register a biostimulant or a fertilizer in Europe. Yeah? you can see that if we compare this with India, for instance, it's in terms of time is less, and in terms of investment is much more less, because we are not requiring GLP studies. Okay, so a fertilizers could be registered in between 3,000, 5,000 euros, and a biostimulant, depending on the number of the efficacy trials, the price should be in between 22,000 euros till 45,000 euros, so less than 4 million rubles. Yeah, and nothing else. This is our company. We are based in Spain. We are giving services in terms of regulatory. We have 3 different offices, one in Madrid, one in Barcelona, and one in Turkey. Thank you very much, people.
Wait here. Thanks, Farron. I believe that was very enlightening. And ladies and gentlemen, Farron has traveled all the way from Spain just for this event. And I'm really, really grateful to you, Farron, for making it, and your colleague, Antonio, who has also accompanied you. And I hope you have a comfortable and a fruitful visit to India. And obviously, we look forward to our members and the industry gaining from your insight. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Farron is available for 2 days if he's offering consultancy services, as you already know. So please be free to interact with him or exchange cards and move things forward. May I request our Vice Chair, Sandeepa Kanatkar, to kindly present a memento to Mr. Farron.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you.
In the meantime, before I start inviting other dignitaries, speakers for the next session, we'd like to share one more video on BASAI that we have prepared for you. Can we have the video, please? Thank you. Thanks a lot. I'd like to now call upon stage the speakers for the next session. May I call upon stage Dr. Amit Rastogi from Coromandel, Nidhi Lahoti from GeoLife, Dr. Prahara Raju Lakshminarayana, sir, John Peterson from BIPA, and also Dr. R.K. Mehta. Sir, if you may. Yes. So, ladies and gentlemen, now this session is all about innovations and the new trends that are going across. As you can see, the array we have right from the more experienced to the very young experienced candidates over here. And Nidhi, a warm welcome to you, the youngest probably in the whole audience, if I may say. I'm not sure. Is there anybody less younger to her? Just let me know. Our first speaker is Mr. Amit Rastogi. He happens to hold the position of Executive Vice President and Chief Technology Officer of Coromandel International Limited. He is a BTech from IIT Kanpur and PhD degree from the State University at New York at Buffalo, USA, both in chemical engineering. He was also selected for the Fulbright Fellowship at Carnegie Mellon University in 2010. He has been granted 10 Indian patents. In his current role in Coromandel, he's coordinating work of 6 R&D centers which are responsible for developing novel products and technologies for plant nutrition and protection. Also supporting the growth projects in new areas such as specialty chemicals. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Amit Rastogi. Thank you. Thank you. That is your latest one.
My fellow speakers on the dais, distinguished delegates at the BASAI event, I would like to thank BASAI for giving me an opportunity to speak today on the topic neem and botanicals as biological agri-inputs. I work for Coromandel International Limited, which is one of the leading manufacturers and marketeers of neem-based pesticides. My talk today will not be focused on neem, rather I'll be focusing on botanical pesticides as a group and the benefits it can offer and what we would like to need to do to make it a serious alternative to synthetic pesticides. So the structure of my talk will be as follows. I'll first briefly touch upon the need for alternatives to synthetic pesticides, then give a brief description of botanical pesticides, the potential of botanical pesticides in terms of the bioactive content, the mode of action, and how it can offer an alternative to chemical pesticides. Then move on to the global scenario with respect to botanical pesticides. What is the kind of a global market that we have for these kinds of pesticides? And then come to the Indian scenario. The Indian scenario, I would like to briefly touch upon the current registration procedures and the regulation environment for these kinds of botanicals. And what are the challenges with respect to the scale-up and the commercial acceptance of botanicals in India? And I finally like to conclude with the suggested actions for increasing the market share for botanicals in India. Now, when the negative impacts of synthetic pesticides are well known, and some of them are listed here. So we have human illnesses due to exposure or ingestion. You have harm to non-target organisms. We have pesticide residues in food and feed. We have pest resistance and resurgence, accumulation of contaminants in soil and water, an adverse effect on biodiversity, partly because of the slow biodegradability of these chemical pesticides. So clearly there is a need to find an alternative to chemical pesticides, and this was also emphasized by many of the speakers who came before me. When I think the gentleman before me who spoke about the European scenario mentioned about the target which Europe has set for itself to reduce chemical pesticides to 50% of the current level. And I think that's probably motivated by many of the concerns which are listed here. Now, what are the alternatives to biopesticides? To chemical pesticides. So obviously biopesticides are an alternative to chemical pesticides. And when you talk of biopesticides, we have different groups. We have the microbials, we have the biochemicals, and we have the plant incorporated. So, and within the biochemicals, we have the botanicals and the semiochemicals. Within that, we have the pheromones and the allelochemicals. So my talk today will be entirely focused on botanicals. So I'll not be talking about microbials, I'll not be talking about semiochemicals, and I'll not be talking about plant incorporated protectorants, which was basically the focus of the talk by Dr. Pental when he talked about the GM modified mustard. So my talk today will be how botanicals can offer an alternative to chemical pesticides. So what are botanicals? Botanical pesticides are primarily secondary metabolites which offer the plant, or these are basically phytochemicals which offer the plant protection against adverse environmental factors. And these are chemicals produced by the plants as derivatives of primary metabolites. And they serve the purpose of a defense mechanism. They can act as repellents, they can attractants, antifeedants, and growth inhibitors. And they can protect the plants from insects and also from parasites and diseases. Now, these metabolites, when extracted and formulated, they can be sold as botanical pesticides. The botanical pesticides offer the following benefits over the chemical or synthetic pesticides. They have low toxicity to mammals. They're relatively safe to use. They cause, again, less environmental harm or pollution. They don't cause harm to non-target organisms. They are very specific, very high specificity, low risk of pest resistance, and a large range of molecules through biosynthesis. The last point I would like just to emphasize a little bit. Now, the range of biomolecules or the range of secondary metabolites which can be produced in plants is more than 50,000, maybe 60, 70,000. And this kind of range of molecules will be very difficult to synthesize through chemical synthesis. So this is actually a very interesting opportunity because it's a vast range of molecules available for usage as biopesticides. Now, what are the range of molecules? I had mentioned about 50 to 60,000 molecules being available as secondary metabolites. So these secondary metabolites can be categorized in some 6 or 7 groups. So some of the groups are alkaloids, phenolics, terpenoids, terpenes, lipids, organosulfurs. And the mode of action of biopesticides or botanical pesticides basically falls into 4 types. They can act as repellents, antifeedants, toxicity, and insect growth regulation. By repellents, we mean basically these botanical pesticides, they repel insects from a distance and the insects are turned away from the plants. Antifeedants basically, and the repellents are basically, a lot of essential oils are used as repellents. So you can have oils of aniseed, peppermint, lemongrass oil, which can be used as repellents. Antifeedants are basically what reduce the consumption by the insects. And these antifeedants are basically azadirachtin and neem can act as an antifeedant. And that basically, it affects the digestive system, it affects the enzymes, the digestive enzymes in insects, and reduces the demand for food in insects. And that's why it is called an antifeedant. When it comes to toxicity, these botanical pesticides basically act on the nervous system of the insects. basically the channels and receptors of the nervous system, like the ACH enzyme, which acts as a receptor for the nervous impulses in the insect, they get inhibited by the botanical pesticides. Now, the botanical pesticides, the advantage here is that a single source of botanical pesticide can contain many secondary metabolites. It can contain an alkaloid, it can contain a phenolic, it can contain a monoterpene. And that's why, because of the synergistic effect of these secondary metabolites, the pest does not develop resistance. Because there are so many different types of secondary metabolites which are acting to protect the plant, the pest resistance is very difficult to develop to botanical pesticides, which is a problem which is seen with synthetic or chemical pesticides. And when it comes to insect growth regulation, the botanical pesticides act by controlling the reproduction, the growth, and the metamorphosis of insects. And they control it in two ways. One, by controlling, as I said, the reproduction, they control the number of eggs the insect can lay, they can control the female fertility, it can control the weight of the insects. Now, when it comes to growth, it affects the endocrine system. So the hormonal regulation in the insects can be modified or regulated by botanical pesticides. And so, let's say, for instance, azadirachtin. Azadirachtin can form juvenile hormone analogs, which can disrupt the endocrine system of the insect. Now, why does the one of the advantages is that the insect will not develop a pest resistance, because these juvenile hormone analogs mimic the insect hormones. This is one big advantage of the botanical pesticide, which is basically leads back to one of the benefits, which says that you do not have insect resistance or pest resistance or resurgence. Now, having described the the composition and the mode of action, I would like to briefly spend some time on the global scenario for botanical pesticides. So here, basically, I have shown what are the different products which are available commercially across the world. So here we have, the details have been provided in terms of the botanical name, plant family, bioactive molecule, secondary metabolites, class, chemical structure, biological effect, product and trade name. So we can see that a large number of products are already available commercially in the world. So you have products like capsicum oleoresin, in which the bioactive molecule is capsaicin, and the metabolite class is polyphenolic amide. You have cinnamaldehyde, which again is the metabolite is phenylpropanide. Then we have cinnamon essential oil, which is again the class is phenylpropanide. Similarly, you have clove essential oil, which has the bioactive molecule eugenol. Then you have, I have given the trade names which are already available in the market, globally. Then you have extract of giant knotwood, which the bioactive molecule is physiocion and amodin, which is again the metabolite is polyphenols, which are natural anthraquinones. Then you have jojoba essential oils, which contain straight chain wax esters, and the metabolite structure is lipids. I don't think it's very visible, but it's sort of a lipid structure. Then carangan, all of us are familiar with carangan, which is derived from the Pongamia plant. And again, the molecule is, the bioactive molecule is carangan, and its structure is, the class is flavonoid. And we have lemongrass oil, which is from the plant Symbopogon, and then the bioactive is citronal and citral, and it's basically a monoterpene. Then we have neem extracts, which all of us are familiar with the bioactive molecules being azadirachtin, nimbin, salicylic, and this falls in the class of triterpenoids. Nicotine is basically, the bioactive molecule is nicotine sulfate, and this is in the class of alkaloids. We have phenyl propionate, which is a substituted benzene structure, which comes from the peperita, which is peppermint oil. Poppy extracts, which are alkaloids again, and pyrethrum. Pyrethrum is basically the largest selling botanical pesticide in the world. 80% of the market of botanical pesticide is pyrethrum. And these are basically the bioactive molecules of pyrethrins, cinerins, and jasmolins, and these are terpenoids. Rosemary essential oil, again a terpenoids. Rotenone is an isoflavonoid. We have rhinia, which is an alkaloid. And these are all, I've given the trade names of the products which are available in the global market. Sabadilla, which is an alkaloid, again, which acts as an insecticide. Thymine is an essential oil, which is a monoterpenoid phenol. Garlic extracts, allicin and diallyl sulfides act as insecticides. And finally, datura, which is again an alkaloid. So this basically gives you a flavor of what are the different kinds of products which are available in the market globally, and which shows that botanical pesticides are already gaining acceptance worldwide. But what is the scenario in India? The scenario in India is that botanical pesticides have to be registered in the schedule of the Insecticides Act. And the material that I've been presenting here is basically from a presentation by Mr. Subhash Chand, who was earlier the Deputy Director of Central Insecticides Board Registration Committee. And here, the botanical pesticides which are listed in India in the schedule are basically 6, which are pyrethrum, carangan, herbal extract, which includes diallyl sulfide, allyl propyl disulfide, neem-based pesticides, cymbopogon extracts, and eucalyptus extract. So this brings us to the question that while we have 6 biobotanical pesticides or pesticides of plant origin which are in the Insecticides Act, we have so many more worldwide. So, we do not have clove oil, we don't have jojoba essential oil, we don't have peppermint oil, we don't have datura, so we don't have nicotine. So clearly, I feel that there is a need to expand the list of botanical pesticides which are listed in the Insecticide Act so that we can have more such botanical pesticides in the Indian market. And coming to the registration process, the process is basically the same as that for synthetic pesticides. The provisional registration can be done under Section 9(3)(b) for 2 years, and then subsequently regular registration under Section 9(3), and Me Too registration under Section 9(4). And for introducing any product which is a formulation based on one of the 6 botanical pesticides, we need to submit data under the 4 categories of chemistry, bioefficacy, toxicity, packaging, and labeling. And the data requirements listed in the presentation were basically mentioned for neem-based pesticides, but presumably they also apply for all pesticides of plant origin. And the specific data requirements are under each of these categories are listed here. The only point I would like to make here is that the toxicity studies which are listed for botanicals are the same as those for synthetic pesticides. And that's really one needs to ask the question as to, because botanical pesticides are generally more safer and less toxic, that do we need to really have the same stringent toxicity studies that we have for synthetic and chemical pesticides, because they act as a deterrent for introduction of many new botanical pesticides. Now, I have talked about the benefits of botanicals, the advantages they offer, and how they can become a viable alternative to synthetic and chemical pesticides. But we also need to take cognizance of the fact that there are many challenges with regard to their commercial acceptance. They are still a small share of the overall pesticide markets, and I've listed some of the challenges here. One is related to the availability of raw materials for the manufacture of botanical pesticides on a large scale. In many cases, the raw materials are not available. And because there is a lot of variation in the composition with respect to region and the season, there is also the challenge with respect to the difficulties in standardization and quality control. Botanicals have lower acute toxicity, and they also have the problem of faster degradability, especially if they're not stored properly. And because a large quantity of botanicals and raw materials have to be processed to produce any commercial quantity of botanical pesticides, there's a lot of production complexity involved in the extraction processes. And finally, the regulatory processes are the same as those for synthetics and for chemical pesticides, which is a fairly stringent, long-drawn process, and that acts as a deterrent to the introduction of botanicals. So in this, knowing that these are the challenges to get better acceptance of these botanicals, obviously we need to do a lot more work. So in the Indian context, I would like to make some suggestions. India has an advantage that India is native to neem and pongamia trees, and by some measure there are 25 million neem trees and 9 million pongamia trees. So obviously there's a strong case for increasing the area under cultivation of neem and pongamia, because there's a large demand for these botanical pesticides based on these raw materials, neem and carangian. And obviously these programs can be taken up under agroforestry. Pyrethrum, as I mentioned, is about 80% of the market for botanicals in the world is for pyrethrum, which is not grown in India, which is not cultivated in India. The major countries are Kenya and Tanzania. And obviously the cultivation of pyrethrum can be explored in India. And India obviously has a lot of natural materials or raw materials for production of essential oils, basically garlic, peppermint, lemongrass, clove. And these can be promoted as biopesticides in India. And CSR institutes which do R&D work on biobotanicals are focused mainly on medicinal and food applications. I'm not aware of any ICR institute which works on botanicals for biopesticides. We need to obviously do a lot more R&D work to develop technologies which can produce biopesticides, botanical pesticides from the raw materials at a commercial scale. We also, the use of nanotechnology for developing formulations which give higher shelf life is a very promising area. And as I had already mentioned, simplification of toxicity studies for ensuring that we don't have to go through a very lengthy process for establishing the toxicity profile of the biopesticides. That's something we need to do. And the farmers were traditionally used to use a lot of botanicals as biopesticides, but then there was a shift towards chemical pesticides because of the effectiveness and because of the cost, because they are cheap. But we need to actually reorient the farmers once again back to botanical pesticides. We need to create the same level of awareness. So this brings me to the end of my talk. I would like to conclude. These are the references. I would like to conclude by saying that basically I've talked about how botanical pesticides can offer an alternative to chemical pesticides. What is the global scenario for botanicals, and what is the Indian context? What is the Indian scenario for these pesticides, and what are the suggestions? What actions we need to take to increase the acceptance of these botanical pesticides? And I would like to thank you for listening to me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Rastogi. It's been quite eye-lightening in this regard. Okay, what happened? Fair enough. So our next speaker is a youngster, as I said. Her name is Nidhi Lahoti. She is currently serving as the new product development and business development executive at GeoLife. She holds a master's degree in biotechnology from the Imperial College of London. And she is actively engaged, and she has her own NGO. If those people who have seen our earlier programs, The Voice of BASAI by Krishi Jagrat, she was interviewed in that, and she does an amazing job on underprivileged children and empowering them. The education of students for rural and underprivileged background. So ladies and gentlemen, a warm round of applause for Nidhi Lahoti. Now further on, we need to encourage youngsters to speak across. We've heard a lot about ourselves. Nidhi, over to you.
Okay. Jai Hind. This is how we address or greet people at GeoLife. So this is how I wanted to start it here as well. And before I dive right in, like Vipin uncle has already said that I'm probably the youngest here. I would expect a certain level of enthusiasm from you guys as well. I'll keep my presentation very short, but I want a lot of interaction from you guys. Okay? So you don't have to do much. But if your answer is yes to any of my questions, please raise your hand. That's all I'm asking you guys to do. So raise your hand if you know that there are microorganisms in our gut. Happy to know that everybody knows that. Raise your hand if you know that these microorganisms are extremely vital for our bodies to function. And raise your hands if you know that these microorganisms protect us from a lot of different diseases. And raise your hands if you know that plants have their own version of gut microbiome. Quite an advanced crowd I have here. So what are these plants' version of gut microbiome? These are called endophytes, and this is what I'm going to be talking about today. So what do endophytes mean? Endophytes are basically microorganisms that live inside the plant body. We know about soil microorganisms, we know about microorganisms that are on the plant body, but there are microorganisms which are inside the plant body that also form symbiotic associations with the plant. And this can be in the vascular bundles or tissue cavities or other intracellular spaces in the plant. And here's a small representation of how they look inside a root or inside a leaf. So plant has different stages of life cycles, and with all these different stages, there are different types of associations with endophytes. So starting with the seed, endophytes are already present in a dormant stage inside the seed. So when the conditions around the seed favor growth, these endophytes become active and lead to seedling development. And these endophytes which are already present in the seed are known as spermatophytes. So when the conditions are favorable, the seedling formation starts happening, and these endophytes start moving to different parts of the plant body. So in the roots, they may help in nutrient absorption or protection from soil-borne diseases. In the shoot, they may help with nitrogen fixation or development of leaves or chlorophyll content. And when it is time to form fruits, or when it is time for the reproductive stage, these endophytes release certain hormones and enzymes that favor attraction of pollinators or certain features in these flowers that are beneficial for the reproductive stage. And moving on to the fruiting stage, these endophytes help in fruit ripening. And finally, moving on to the next generation of the plant, these endophytes get stored in the seeds again in the dormant stage until the seed finds a suitable environment for germination again. So what I'm trying to say is endophytes are inevitably found in all stages of the plant life. And this has been favored by evolution. There are studies that state association of endophytes with plants dating from 460 billion years ago. That means endophytes are doing something right, which is why the nature is favoring the presence of these endophytes with the plant through evolution. And there were studies being conducted in Louisiana in E+, that is plants colonized by endophytes, and E-, that is plants not colonized by endophytes. These are the two different test samples that they have taken, and they found significantly higher survival rates, germination rates, growth rates in E+ plants as compared to E- plants. And the mean, that is the average growth rate of E+ was the double of E- plants, which basically means that we should be favoring endophytes because these organisms are a part of the biodiversity. But because of the use of synthetic chemicals and fertilizers, we have kind of killed them. But it is our time, this is the right forum for me to be talking about this, that we need to bring endophytes back. And this is one step forward in the direction of bridging the gap in the biodiversity from geolife by bringing endophytes back. But how do these actually help? We're coming back to the most important point, that is the mode of action. So when plants experience different types of stresses, different types of metabolic pathways are being activated and different molecules are being released inside the plant body. For example, biotic stresses like fungi, viruses, bacteria, nematodes, insects, abiotic like drought, temperature, water, salt, all these different stresses activate or trigger different pathways inside the plant body, activating that particular gene or that particular part of the DNA to release signaling molecules. And these endophytes inside the plant body will identify these signaling molecules and say ki, acha, this is drought ka stress. So plant is experiencing drought. I need to make something that the plant will be relieved from this particular type of stress. So identifying the drought particular molecule, these endophytes trigger their own pathways to release molecules or secondary metabolites that help the plant combat this particular type of stress. So that is why we say that these are very intelligent organisms, and that is why evolution has favored the presence of endophytes inside the plant bodies, and we need to move more and more towards in this direction. So what have we done? After understanding this theory, after learning about biodiversity and evolution, at Geolife, we conducted a wide-scale study for, this has been going on for years, and it has been 2 years that we have found significant breakthroughs in this area. We have proudly developed a bank of more than 200 different endophytes that we have isolated on our own. We have studied their properties, which could probably be secretion of secondary metabolites or secretion of antagonistic molecules that prevent pathogenesis or growth promoting hormones, could be anything. So these endophytes have different functions and properties. And then we conducted study of each of these endophytes, and we recolonized them inside the plant body to see if they're actually doing the function that we have identified or not. And then after getting satisfied results inside the plant, we isolated them again to compare the bank of endophytes that we had previously generated versus this endophyte that we had isolated again, to check if they're the same, if there are properties that are changing, to find out the stability and compatibility of these endophytes. We have tested them individually in the plants as well, and also made consortiums by testing stability and compatibility and then testing it in the plants. So we did wide-scale in vitro trials, pot trials and field trials, and after thorough research, after thorough stability test and compatibility test, we found we shortlisted 11 strains out of the 200 plus strains bank that we have and made our product, which is called BACTO-Smart, because these endophytes, like I mentioned before, are intelligent endophytic organisms that live inside the plant body, which can identify the different types of stresses that plant is experiencing, and in turn release the required type of molecules for the to help the plant combat that particular type of stress. So the benefits. BACTO-Smart, organisms in the BACTO-Smart product are able to produce zinc and are able to fix nitrogen for the plant. They also act as an immunity booster by producing secondary metabolites, antibiotics and siderophores. They also produce exopolysaccharides to form a biofilm to prevent colonization by pathogenic strains. They also produce growth hormones like IAA, which help in growth regulation of different parts of the plant body like root or shoot or vascular tissue. They also help in growth parameters in terms of chlorophyll content or germination rate, and they modify the root morphology or optimize it by regulating the osmotic adjustment as well as stomatal regulation. Geolife has a state-of-the-art research field research facility called the GRF, or the Geolife Research Farms, where we have a team of people from different agricultural fraternities like entomologists, pathologists, agronomists, horticulturists, where they've all come together and developed a set of parameters that need to be tested for this product, and conducted a wide study by, for example, for one trial, they're tagging multiple different plants, identifying different features, yield parameters in each of these plants, and finding out studies that are significant and studies that are not significant by doing statistical analysis. And after conducting these trials at our own facility, and we conducted multi-locational trials in multiple different crops, and here is a summary of results of percentage increase over the control crop. For example, in muskmelon, we can see that increase in plant height is about 6.9%. In tomato, we can see 14.6%. In chili, it's around 20%. In brinjal, it's around 11%. Number of leaves have increased in tomato by 33%. In chili, 14%. In brinjal, 41%. And the number of sprouts increased by 15% in muskmelon, 17% in tomato, 16% in chili, and 17% in brinjal. So this is a short summary of the yield parameters that we have tested and in different crops in different locations in India. So like I mentioned before that endophytes are smart, intelligent bacteria who are able to identify the type of stresses that plants are experiencing. So based on that, if suppose the plant is in the fruiting stage right now and the plant says, I think I need something that can help me ripen my fruits. So the endophytes can identify that need and produce protease. If the plant is falling short of energy, endophytes can secrete amylase to break down starch into sugars and provide energy for growth. If the plants are experiencing cell damage and require repairing, then endophytes can produce cellulase. If there is some threat like a pathogen or a disease that is attacking the plant, the endophytes can identify that and produce hydrogen cyanide. Or if the plant needs growth regulation, the endophytes can produce indole acetic acid. So this is how the endophytes identify what the plants require and give them what they can. So before commercialization, at Geolife, we believe that our products have to be extremely stable. They should be able to work in all kinds of climatic conditions, soil conditions, weather conditions. So we've conducted certain stability tests, and we found out that our strains are stable at temperature 10 degrees, at room temperatures like 28, as high as 45 degrees. They're also able to grow properly and profusely between pH 3 and 10 and can survive in saline soil up to 15% salinity. So what I'm trying to say is that these strains are extremely robust and they can probably survive in all kinds of conditions and still continue to perform as they do. And what we're offering is the product as a finished product itself in liquid and powder form, or it is also available in a concentrated form, which could be compatible with a lot of your formulations to enhance properties of your products. So yeah, thank you for your time. And if you want to know a little bit more about this, you can visit us at booth 18. Thank you.
Thank you, Nidhi. Very energetic, very precise. Thank you very much for giving us an insight on endophytes. Our next speaker is Mr. Prahararaju Lakshminarayana. He is the Managing Director of AG Biosystems Private Limited. He specializes in integrated pest management, promotion and marketing. He has developed an application of herbicide for weed control. The purpose of his presentation, as he states, is to focus on the importance of biopesticides and integrated weed management for sustainable agriculture. Ladies and gentlemen, my personal favorite, the only person I know who has done something as good as bioherbicides, Lakshminarayanan.
Thank you. Thank you, Vipin, and BASAI for giving me this opportunity. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. After a hectic, sumptuous lunch we had, maybe we are all tired a little bit, but maybe I'll try my best to wake you up with my presentation. So, we are from a company called AG Biosystems. We are going to talk about our, we are basically into insect pheromones as well as bioherbicides and the biologicals, microbials especially, into insect pest, disease and weed control. We are based out of Hyderabad. So we are a 26-year-old company. We are established in 97. We are DSR recognized, ISO certified, GMP facility for manufacture. We are in pheromones, microbial for insect pest, disease and weed control. So today my talk will also mix, other than the agriculture part, maybe we will also look at some of the invasives, what we are facing trouble with. So invasives, they don't belong here. They are introduced in natural invasion or thrive in the local environment, competing with the native flora and fauna. Just to cite some examples, in pests, there is locust, tuta, fall armyworm. Diseases like Alternaria, Sclerotium, and Puccinia. Weeds like Eichhornia, Parthenium, and Lantana. So invasive alien species, or IAS, what they're called, over 300 are reported to be invasive. Damages due to IAS in agriculture, forestry in India is to the tune of about 91 million. It is recorded way back in 2002. Maybe latest figures are not available in India. But if you see the cost in IAS in Australia is about 13.6 billion. And 2011, during 2011 is the estimate what is being made. And world figures stand at more than 1.4 trillion. So if you see the pest as an invasive, they may come and they may migrate again. If you see as a disease, maybe it is controllable, it is specific to certain kind of a crop. But when it comes as a weed, it stays there. And invasive has the ability to amend itself, to grow in there. So today whatever I'm presenting is on an alien invasive weed called water hyacinth, Parthenium, and Lantana. So what are the damages they are doing to environment for this kind of impactation? So aquatic, it is depletion of water, eutrophication of ponds, depletion of dissolved oxygen, increased turbidity and fouling. In terrestrial and in forest, we have depletion of the nutrient, competing with native vegetation, loss of medicinal plants, reduced pastures, and grazing lands. These are all affecting our food security also. This is again a very characterization of invasiveness of Parthenium, Lantana, and water hyacinth. If you see, velocity of dispersal is highly dispersive. Tendency of prevalence is dominant. Level of threat to biodiversity is highly competitive. Regional distribution is widely distributed. So these are the major points in these three weeds. So cost of environmental impact in Lantana alone, if you see, in US is about 58 billion, and in India is about 25 billion, and Australia it's about 6.8 billion. If you compare with about 65 billion market of agrochemicals worldwide, this is overtaking that. This is the importance of the invasives what we are talking about. Now and again, water hyacinth, in USA it is about 35 billion, and Malaysia it's about $10 million, which is affecting. So with that background, we have developed 3 bioherbicides, basically mycoherbicides for water hyacinth, Parthenium, and Lantana. They are distributing from Central America and South America to the rest of the world. See on the left corner, what you see is water hyacinth, and the center is Parthenium, and on the right side is Lantana camera. They all invaded into more than 50-60 countries already and doing a lot of damage to the environment. Why bioherbicides? Basically, what do you have for organic farming? Do you have some weedicide? Except for flame throwing or manually removing, there's absolutely nothing. In a smaller areas, yes, it is possible, but in a large acre of agriculture and row crops and other things, it will be difficult in future. Aquatic weed control and environmentally sensitive areas, they don't prefer any chemical weediciding. This is again a very, very important area where we can look for alternative methods for the weed control. Now, weed resistance management, already we have so many weedicides, but we also have the problem of weed resistance management issues are coming up. So this is also one area where the bioherbicides can be mitigating the resistance factor. The prevalence of non-target area contamination. Non-target area contamination is very high. Right from our childhood, what we are taught for application of weedicide, flood nozzle, you have more water so that it will not have a drifting. To avoid drifting, flood nozzle was used. So what was retained on the target leaf of the weed is only 1%, and 99% were falling back onto the non-target area and contaminating in the soil and further to the water sources, groundwater and other things. And again, it is coming back into the food chain. So this is one of the major area for residue, chemical residues issues also. So this is where if we can have an alternative, we can do it better. Very few people are operating into this field, so that it is a niche area, and bioherbicides, maybe this is one of the reasons why we went in. In biopesticides, everybody talks about more of the pest control or insect control, then maybe some disease control, and literally we find very, very few people into herbicide area. Again, herbicide area is more than 35% globally if you see. So we also have a chemicals are restricted into sensitive areas and water bodies especially, because they are toxic to the environment as well as the fish. So what we started looking is, we are looking at things beyond microbes. So my earlier speakers have also touched upon some of the things why don't we work with metabolites, or why don't you work with the elutes of the microbes so that they will be more stable. Now, whether we like it or not, down the line, most of the countries have signed various agreements, international agreements for controlling global gases, release of CO2 and other things. So we have to fall in line for global warming. We have to do some kind of a restrictions will definitely come on the chemical inputs into the agriculture part. Now, when it comes, people are looking at what are the biologicals which will probably replace or fill in the gap. They have to be overcoming the kind of a problems what we are facing today is many challenges in live microbes to use. When you give a live microbe, first thing is shelf life issues. Second thing is the microbe has to settle into a new environment. If it is into the soil, the settling in process is much better and faster. Whereas if it is a foliar application, it becomes little difficult. Now what we need to do to overcome this kind of a situation is, farmer definitely demands, as you spray, the performance should be seen. So if this is the kind of a expectation from farmer, even the biological solution companies should also look at innovating products in such a way that it can speed up the performance. So we started working on the elutes of microbes. Now we are talking about the first and foremost water hyacinth, how it is invasive. So it has a more than 125,000 plants will accommodate into 1 acre. And it is about 125 tons of mat in 1 acre of pond. They have hundreds of flowers and tens of inflorescences. Then the seeds are viable for 20 years. So the seed will be under the water or on the heaps, whatever has been drawn out and put on the side of the river. When the river swells again, the seed is again inoculated. So it also has a vegetative propagation. So generally, to clean the lake, they go on chopping and put back the cut matter of the water hyacinth weed back into the water. So it has a capacity to generate one more plant for each piece. So this is the kind of an issue which is happening. And also, physiologically, this plant has got a daughter plant concept by stolons. It will develop a stolon, make a daughter plant, and break the stolon, and it becomes an independent plant. So this is how it has become a perfect invasive with 20 years of viability of seed. So if you don't attend, what happens? Atrophication happens, and slowly the organic matter keeps on building up there. A big lake can become a small creek. So this is the kind of a thing where how we are losing water. This is the degree of infestation of Eichhornia in different states and union territories of India, except for the cold part of northern India, especially to the Kashmir and Himachal. Rest of the India is completely there. So we have also seen, we keep on talking about carbon sequestration and other things, but we are not looking at what is the water footprint we are losing. In this, we have seen evapotranspiration loss is about almost 3.5 liter per plant per day, and it is about worked out to about 5 lakh liters in an acre per day. So generally, we take pride in saying that, okay, we have exported a cup of coffee to so-and-so country and we have realized $2. But they are not counting 140 gallons of water, what is required for making those few beans for making a cup of coffee. If they start calculating 140 liters of water from India, it is the Indian wealth. We are not realizing. So this is the footprint what I am looking. Otherwise, if we save this 5 lakh liters of water per every acre in a lake, just imagine each lake is around 40-50 acres minimum. And how much of water which could be useful for other purposes, either irrigation or for drinking. Now we have also done a study. What we are seeing is water hyacinth is a urban weed. Most of the lakes and other things, they are asking people to remove it. Yeah. So they are asking to remove it. So this is taking a lot of money. They are paying on a square meter basis at a huge price. So if we can reduce the weight of this, then we can save a lot of money on controlling this. This is where we have seen within 7 to 10 days, 85% of the weight is reduced, then we can harvest it out easily. So I'll go a little faster. So this is the application what we are showing on the day 1. So within 2 hours, you can see the results. So already you can see the leaves curling inwards. And 3rd day, we give a second repeat spray so that wherever we left over can cover. Then within 5 days to 7 days, you can see the complete control coming in. Here what we expect is we need to remove this whatever dried part. If you leave it back, then it will be going into the water and the water turbidity increases. So it is not really viable to keep it inside. So whatever is harvested, we can send it for making as a manure. So this is useful as a good manure. Within 21 days, we can make manure. This again, Parthenium. This is a florific cedar, like more than 50,000 seeds in each plant. So this has a lot of effects on the human health as well as it impacts livestock. So within 48 hours, we can see the results in Parthenium. And 7 days, it can totally dry up, on, as you see right side. Then Lantana also we have developed. Similarly, this will also be within 7 days, 48 hours, we can start seeing the results. And Lantana is a major problem with forest fires generally. They also have the Lantana poisoning in cattle. They stop to feed. So for these, we have done the toxicology data on GLP, OECD protocols, and we have also done the ecotox data as well as the bioefficacy data. In 2 seasons, 3 locations data is available. So what we have done is we have also completed the details of, characterization of biomolecules. We know what are the biomolecules designed. We are talking about one biomolecule, but we have 3 biomolecules in all the 3 products separately. We have done the NMR studies and we know the molecule, what we have designed. So we have done the bioinformatics studies also, where it is binding and other things. No. This is where, we are knowing where it is binding exactly. So this is binding and photosynthetic pathways 10, 11 and 14. And we have also studied the binding synergies compared with the standards available 20 VD sites in the market. We have compared the things, and it is doing much better than the all other VD sites with a proof. So we have about 24 patents for this in 15 countries for 3 of our technologies developed. So this is Australian patent, this is the Japanese patent and US patent. We have totally protected this with Biodiversity Board registration. We have also won the strain. We have completed the genome studies, bioinformatics studies. Everything is in line. So we also developed some of the projects which are with rice weeds and some insecticidal molecules we are working, and also some soil fungi control and other products we are working. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Lakshmi sir, for giving us an insight in bioherbicides. I'm sure soon the day will come when we'll have at least one bioherbicide registered in our country in this regard. Our next speaker, ladies and gentlemen, is Dr. John Peter. He is the chairperson of Varsha Bioscience and Technology, India Private Limited. He also happens to be the vice president of Bio Input Producers Association, we commonly known as BIPA. He has served as he is the scientific advisor to the Research Advisory Board of the Tocklai Tea Research Association. He has recently been awarded the Lifetime Achievement Award for promoting biocides from the Dr. B.V. David Foundation. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. John Peter.
Thank you very much. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen who are shouldering part of Indian agriculture, and my earlier speakers. And I'm going to talk to you about technological innovations in microbial products. The unlocking the power of uncertainty. First, let me explain what is the uncertainty we are facing. There are few uncertainties I have projected: nutrient imbalance, induced imbalance, biotic and abiotic stress management, climate resilience cultivation, pesticide residue and pathogens, nutrient-rich quality produce. Of course, this nutrient-rich quality produce is a different part altogether, and how we are missing this nutrient-rich quality produce by adopting various technologies. All of you will be aware of it, and one by one I'll explain. And first and foremost is on microbials. Microbials, now they are covering biofertilizers, biopesticides and biostimulants also. In India, it has been listed as a biofertilizer and biopesticide, and government also agreed to include microbials as a biostimulant. So thank you very much for BASAI for the constant effort along with BIPA to convince the government that microbials are one of the important biostimulants. So, what is the first and foremost is the nutrient. So, if I want to talk about the biofertilizer, I need to talk about the nutrient also. Most of you might be aware what the nutrients are. And when we are talking about the nutrients, India and China, the consumption wise, India and China are the foremost two countries that are consuming the maximum nutrient, apart from United States and Western and Central Europe. And you see the trend of nutrient consumption across the globe. And of late, from 2017 onwards, the consumption is becoming a plateau. So now it is 0.2% growth per annum of nitrogen, 0.1% in P, and it is negative minus 1.2% in potash. There are various reasons for this stable or declining consumption of fertilizers. When it comes to the economics, you see, in India, we have urea, DAP, MOP, NPK combinations. So the production versus consumption, and there are lots of gap between them, and the import is being carried out because of the less production capacity in India. So this is government also spending lots of money on the form of subsidy, and we are having the import revenue loss. So what is the elimination factor? Eliminating the uncertainty. So now we have nitrogen, phosphate and potash, and we also have effectively integrated the biofertilizers. China was the foremost and followed by India, and we are now the leaders in integrating the biofertilizers. We have mycorrhiza, we have N bacteria, P bacteria, K bacteria, zinc bacteria. All these bacteria are being carried out, formulations are available in India, and a few of the leading companies are also coming forward and trying to sell this product across the country. But will it be sufficient for us to meet the target? Say, for example, DAP and urea and potash, all of them are minerals with a limited available resource, and we are fast depleting them. And if we are going to integrate this biofertilizers with the conventional fertilizers, and we are going to increase, or we are going to certainly compensate the consumption of the fertilizers. So, okay, 1 minute. Okay, see how to integrate this. So there is a case study where biofertilizer has been applied in tea plant, and this is the result where 100% recommended fertilizer, 100% recommended fertilizer with the biofertilizer, NPK consortia. Rhizodine is the brand, and 75% recommended fertilizer with the 2 metric ton of vermicompost, and Rhizodine is the biofertilizer, 50% recommended fertilizer. You can see the result. There is a significant increase in made tea yield. So around 4,837 kgs in 100% plus biofertilizer, whereas in control it is 4,038 kg. So, and also when you are reducing the fertilizer dose to 25%, the statistically it is stable, on par with each other. So there is a possibility of reducing 25% of chemical fertilizer in Indian system. This is 2-year data where successfully Toklai Tea Research Association has conducted in Duvas and Lower Assam. And the report says the quality of the leaf, fine leaf is increased, bud length is increasing, and internode length is increasing, and there are no much change in the soil pH and organic carbon, whereas the nutrient T quality in terms of nitrogen, phosphate, potash, manganese and zinc are increased. So what we need is the quality of the produce. So this is where we are missing. So the quality, if you want to improve, we have to integrate this biofertilizer with the chemical pesticide and chemical fertilizers. And the available nutrient in the soil also has been studied. When you are seeing this, 346, you see this 100% recommended fertilizer with the biofertilizer, 346 kg of nitrogen per hectare, and compared to 329 in 100% recommended fertilizer, because biofertilizer is compensating the nitrogen fixation, phosphate that is 78 ppm and 105 of potash. So it is above the recommended fertilizer, and when you are reducing the fertilizer, the yield is not affected, quality of the produce is increased, as well as the availability of nutrition in the soil is increased. So when coming back to the policy in India, we have introduced in 2015 neem coated urea by reducing 5 kg. So it is working well among the farmers, and farmers are accepting it. And we have also introduced 2001 nano urea. And where we are standing, we have studied, I am also representing Varsha Bioscience as Mr. Bipin said, and we have effectively studied coating this nitrogen and phosphate microbes with DAP and conducted the studies with a shelf of around 18 months. There are no deterioration, and on paddy it is giving as equal result as that of the experiment that are conducted alone, like DAP and biofertilizer. Yeah, I am also running parallelly. Thank you very much. Okay. And so if there is a problem in combination of N bacteria with nitrogen, especially urea, it is a challenge. We need to go for green chemistry combination. Whereas if we are successfully integrating this microbe with DAP, we can introduce 40 kg bag of DAP in this country, as well as MOP. In fact, when we are integrating 25 kg of MOP is becoming equivalent to 50 kg of MOP. So we have lots of potency if we are integrating, and the government policy, aggressive policy is also required to approve it. And more important for the integration is urea manufacturing is the largest CO2 emitter in the chemical industry, which emits 12.5 million tons of CO2 annually. And the mineral depletion I was talking about, and 11 states in US banned sale of phosphate because they feel that the phosphate is contaminating the water resources. Likewise, how we are feeling the nitrogen. And government also is spending 1.88 lakh crores of rupees as a subsidy, and if you are saving 25%, you can say how much we can save for the government. And nutrient quality and yield, improving the quality of nutrient production and increasing the yield is another parameter. And the biotic, I am coming back to the biotic and abiotic stress. And of late, phorate and carbofuran, when it was banned across the globe, and as well as chloropyrifos. Chloropyrifos is one of the important molecule that was able to contain these nematodes. And the nematode population, termite population, root grub population is ever increasing. Now, integrating this biopesticide, usage of biopesticides is becoming inevitable across the globe for the biotic stress management program. And eliminating the uncertainties, we need to introduce the virulent and high density microbial biopesticides, combination biopesticides, microbial metabolites. Dr. Lakshmi Narayana was talking to you about the microbial metabolites. And not only these herbicides, we have abamectin, spinosas. All these things are derivatives of microbes. So we have worked on ivermectin for some way back 30 years before, and it was not very successful because the output was very, very less. We expected 2 gram per liter, and we have got only 400 mg per liter. So it was not cost economic when we are comparing ourselves with the Chinese. And the combination biopesticide, already it is in the market, and FMC has registered this product in US as well as the Canada, Bacillus licheniformis and Bacillus subtilis. And Certis, they have come with the innovative product with the bacteriophage and Pseudomonas syringae. And these combinations are available elsewhere, not in India. And BIPA has represented this with the government of India. I only presented this when Dr. Malhotra was the chair in 425 RC meet, and the government also agreed. Now the combination biopesticide guidelines have come, and we will be soon seeing the registration of the combination biopesticide. Not only combination biopesticide, there are possibilities of combining the biopesticides with the chemical pesticides. Say, for example, few of the companies, especially Chinese companies, they are integrating the BT with the chemical pesticides. They are compatible, and we can do it if properly. If we are studying the chemistry and biological of these are both the entities, we can combine both of them. So coming back to the uncertainties, one is the temperature. This is the 100-year data so far in south bank of Toklai. I thank Toklai for this slide, and you can see there is a slight decline in the temperature, rainfall. So rainfall pattern is reducing. Around 200 mm rainfall is reduced in Assam, and there is a constant increase in minimum temperature. Post-COVID, if you observe it, before COVID it has started coming down, and post-COVID, critically if you see 2019 onwards, it is drastically reducing. And when you are comparing with the maximum temperature, there is within a century, we have 1 degree centigrade temperature is raised. And post-COVID, you see there is a stable temperature from 19 to 21, and again it is increasing because of the urbanization and human activities. So these are all the unknown variables. Now the known variable is the carbon dioxide elevation. So 1990 it was 265, now it is 2018 it is 411 ppm carbon dioxide. So these unknown variables are affecting the crop a lot. Say for example, tea was never got irrigation some 2 or 3 decades before. Now for every tea completion they are spending around 15 rupee per kg. So they are, I have crossed 15 minutes. I will take another 2 minutes. So when you are doing this Pseudomonas, when you are this is the saline zodiac soil. When you are zodiac soil, when you are combining Pseudomonas with the recommended 50% fertilizer, the root length, shoot length, and root weight, shoot weight is increasing. Not only for the pH and also the stomatal opening as well as the water retention, all of them can be controlled with the microbes. So we are unlocking the technology, decoding the chemistry and biology, integrating the biological with the conventional molecules in an untraditional way. So I thank BASAI, participants and sponsors for giving this opportunity and conducting this meeting very successfully. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. John Peter. An excellent presentation, I must say. And thanks for gracing the occasion on behalf of VIPA and filling in the shoes of KRK Reddy, the president, who is unwell, and we wish him a speedy recovery. Ladies and gentlemen, the last presentation, but not the least, for this session, I'll be requesting Mr. R.K. Mehta, who happens to be a qualified mechanical engineer by profession. He is promoting bamboo plantations and manufacture and applications of biochar. He is also the founder chairperson of an NGO, Rainbow Bamboo and Biochar Academy. Constantly, he's looking for active associations with various industry organizations to enrich biochar-based fertilizers with biological and other inputs for enhancing the agri-productivity. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. R.K. Mehta.
Thank you.
And after this session, we'll break for tea. So
Yeah.
I'm just standing between your cup of tea at this point of time.
I think you'll have to adjust the height a little.
I will. Just a minute, sir. Here you go.
Good afternoon, everybody. I hope we are not sleeping yet. Afternoon is a very difficult one, and the last speaker has a difficult chance to keep everybody awake. Anyway, I'll take the tip from our young panelists. I will also ask two questions. How many of you know about biochar? Have you heard about biochar? Oh, there are a number of them. Quite good. How many of you know that biochar has multiple benefits? Anybody can dare tell us how many? You, sir? How many benefits? Okay, I'll tell you. There are global warming is harmful to everybody. And especially it is my motivation. I entered this field of bamboo because of global warming. It was bothering me. After I retired from my job, I opened the NGO. And this was what was bothering me was the global warming. Then they said bamboo plantation eats more carbon dioxide. My friend has already said carbon dioxide is the culprit, which has increased in the air. And then when I came forward with bamboo biochar, I came across. Then I studied biochar. I was amazed by the properties of the biochar. How many of you know that biochar has multiple benefits? Anybody? Okay, I will share two major ones. Biochar helps in increasing productivity of agri-productivity recorded by many institutes by 50 to 30%. Just biochar adding is 15 to 30%. Number two, it contains global warming. And in return, it earns income. Today, carbon credit is the income available. So biochar in agriculture enhances productivity and also gets you another revenue of stream. That is the carbon credit, which is a proven fact. It is not a fiction. Carbon credit is being sold in Europe and America in large numbers. In India, they have started doing it already, and it is greatly appreciated. So now I'll start my formal presentation.
So you've got 10 minutes.
सब कुछ गड़बड़ है?
One more time.
2 times after 2?
Sorry.
Okay. Now, as I said earlier, biochar plus compost plus biological. I was exposed to biological by Vipin Ji some time ago. Since then, I've been following it. And I have found, yes, it's a very good opportunity. Biochar plus compost, which has to be, or any other fertilizers, plus biological, can increase the potency of the fertilizers. Expected increase in agri input, I said 50 to 30%. is only with biochar. What happens with the adding of the biologicals, we have to find the research about, and this is a topic for research for the companies. And Coromandel Fertilizers, Mr. Amitji has agreed to try it out. It's a short sequestration of carbon dioxide. We claim, I have been giving talks saying, cooling the globe with biochar, because capturing carbon dioxide and putting it in the soil is a proven method, accepted all over the world and the United Nations also. Just to give an example, 1 ton of biochar is equivalent to sequesters 3 tons of carbon dioxide. 1 ton of biochar sequesters 3 tons of carbon dioxide. And of course, there's a granted income of carbon credits, which is varying, of course, fluctuating, but it is supposed to increase 10 times from the present level of income because of severe global warming. My presentation in 7 modules. Introduction to biochar, its applications, R&D work being done by various ICAR labs in India. And we'll go one by one. Availability, manufacture of biochar at farm level. This is the farmers can make themselves also. And industrial level manufacturing, some case studies, and then recommendation is the last one. I'll spend last 3 minutes of my presentation on recommendations. Okay, what is biochar? Biochar is a stable carbon product which has a sponge type property. It is generated by pyrolysis process. Pyrolysis process is heating in absence of oxygen, a very limited oxygen. So you get a lot of porosity. It is estimated the surface area of few grams of biochar, if I were to flatten them together, it is equal to 1 football field. That is the area available in few grams of biochar. For microbes to stay in, you get a lot of opportunity for microbial gains. Biochar is stable carbon, which will not decompose for hundreds of years. Biochar is the inert material. Biochar specifications have been published by IBA, International Bureau Association for Biochar, almost about 10 years ago. And now National Agency, ICR, ISS, Indian Institute of Soil Sciences, Bhopal, has issued specifications, same as IBI, for agricultural applications. So there is a specification available for India also today. Biochar for agri application has been approved and published as a standard for the ICR, ISS. Okay. When scientists discovered biochar, almost about 200 years ago, let's say, by studying a soil in Amazonian forest, which is called terra petra in Spanish. That is how the language came, terra petra soil. It's a very popular example. Soils are very fertile, only those where a lot of carbon is available, compared to the other soil in the same forest. Applications of biochar. I just mentioned Agri 1 because our audience here is Agri 1, but there are many other applications. Forestry application, animal husbandry. 3% addition of biochar in agriculture animal feed can have tremendous benefits. Pharmaceutical sector, cosmetic sector, mines, it can be used energy product. And the biggest opportunity for biochar is now greening of steel industry. I am sure you must have read in the media. The greening of the steel industry is a global phenomenon. And in India, Government of India has decided, the Ministry of Steel is already set a program. We cannot export our steel outside because of the carbon footprint. So that has to be reduced in next 5 years. So that's a very big opportunity for biochar manufacturers. Newer applications are evolving regularly. Lot of R&D work. In the year 3 years ago, 6,000 research papers were published in the world market. Peer-reviewed papers, research papers, 6,000 papers were published. That is the volume of research going on, and will continue to go on in India also. Importance of biochar. A little graphic shows you that carbon dioxide there is very important for us, because photosynthesis, by photosynthesis it generates the biomass. Biomass is pyrolyzed. Pyrolysis is done. One product we get is biochar. The byproducts are heat. A lot of heat energy available to us, which is used for various applications. And then there's the oil available called wood oil. This is a typical specification of bamboo biochar. Shows bamboo biochar used in agri, air filters, cosmetics, and various animal feed. This is R&D work by Sara, the drum type, simple type of equipment manufactured almost 25 years ago, but they were not popularized beyond the lab the test reports. These are work going on. Permanent availability of biomass, this shows the biomass available. Availability of planted biomass is going to be increased. Manufacture farm level and manufacture industrial level. Farm level, simple equipment are there, which are made. They are not very efficient, but that is the only alternative. To shift biomass from a distance to a centralized location, you create a lot of footprints. Carbon footprint gets created, so it becomes negative. So this is one. This is second one, third one, fourth one. This is industrial products plant. You see the byproducts available now, heat and oil. This is industrial plant. This is the industrial plant, air curtain, firebox type. This is wet, very wet sewage is being treated there. This is one plant is working in Varangal of this type. This is my visit in Canada. I went in. This is air curtain type of biochar making machine. The next slide shows here a 60-day trial. I think you were mentioned about the trials. 60-day trials. See the biochar controlled field and a biochar fed field. One plant is 1.5 feet high, ocral plant. Other is 6 feet high. This is the result of recommendations. 10 train members of the FPOs and members of the other farmers association at center like NIMS, etc. Application manufacture of biochar. It can create a lot of jobs. It can create a lot of jobs. And greater education, we request government people, I'm sure through your organization also, BASAI can recommend. A lot of R&D money is to be involved. There is a good opportunity for scientists to be involved. And a lot of job opportunities available for scientists also to take up the research. This is one of the side advantage of a lot of job opportunities at the rural level, making the biochar, and the central level and the R&D level. Setting up industrial demo plants. Demo plants are very expensive. Good industrial plant costs about 4 to 5 crores. And India, that is one constraint today, availability of funds for unknown or new technology. So we are requesting government to put up 3 technologies, and they may soon do that because of greening of steel to make the biochar. Train consultants and domain and the manufacturer processing. Last 8th is very national, establish a national biochar board, like the National Honey Board. There is a National Honey Board made, and they had a presentation in Hyderabad recently, where I come from. And there are many published biochar success stories. Your journals can also carry them. Thank you very much, everybody. Kind of you.
Thank you, Mr. Mehta. You've been quite insightful in this regard. Ladies and gentlemen, before we call it the end of the session, we have amongst us, I'll just take 5 minutes more of yours, please. Just be patient. We have Professor Shashi Sharma, a professor and chair of Biosecurity and Food Security, Murdoch University, Australia. And he has also been actively involved with the government regulatory affairs. Professor Shashi Sharma, please. He'll just take 5 minutes. I just wanted to give a brief of what he is doing and probably give us an insight. It's just an opportunity that is here in India from Australia. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you, Vipin. Thank you for the invite. And I have greatly appreciated attending so many good lectures. And it's been a great learning for me as well. My name is Shashi Sharma, and I just... Can you hear me well? And I just wanted to share with you some of the current roles that may be relevant to BASAI and the participants here. One role that I have is a member of a Biosecurity Council, a council which advises the minister and the government in Western Australia. Another role that I have currently is the founder chair for World Bioprotection Research Foundation, which is working on microbiome and also biologicals. It's a global one, and that has relevance to this one. And third, I thought would be of relevance to you is primarily my role that had been as a director of plant biosecurity earlier as a regulator. How to have for example, biologicals, one of the major obstacles that you have is their registration, is to how to get the regulator's mindset. And I would like to share that one in 2 minutes. One is that when you're talking to a regulator is a person who is a public servant. And the regulator is looking at from the perspective, is risk averse. The moment there is lack of information, the regulator is going to say no. So if biologicals are to be there, then you got to work with the regulators. And as a regulator, what we are advising is the role is changing. The regulator has to see himself or herself as enabler. And to be enabler, it's very important that the enabler is confident that whatever you're signing, you're confident it is not going to ever be adverse to the public or to the environment. So the changing role of the regulator, industry must help. Rather than your approach, the regulator is not working, the system is not working, it is never going to work. So as to how to work with the regulator, and that is where how to make the regulator to be enabler, that you need to work it out. And that is happening in most countries. Another thing I wanted to say is that when I entered, and there were so many talks on biopesticides, and I have written about it, is why would you like to call a useful organism as a pesticide? When the community is telling us that, look, we don't want pesticides. I can understand a chemical pesticide company having one biological. They say, oh, that's a chemical one, that's a biological biopesticide. But not us. So we have to find a new term. If you want to have biologicals to have their niche, first of all, you have to say that they are bioprotectants. So here is a body here. You should talk about bioprotectants rather than biopesticides. The change of terminology is very important. And secondly, the registration process is going to be very different to what you think always, because we have taken chemical pesticide as a benchmark. No, that's not going to work. You're going to work with living organisms and their products compared to non-living organisms, the products. So it's a very different one. So unless you come up with the understanding that this is a novel thing you're doing, and you base it always on the basis of your chemical pesticide, it's not going to work very well. It's going to take a longer time than you expect. Another thing which is extremely important is that as a regulator, when you're working with living organisms, and if you think they're going to do it international business immediately, it's not going to work. So you have to give some time for biologicals to be internationally, being used as a market. As for chemical pesticide we are used to. We have to develop local markets first, and I would say work very local markets rather than even national markets. And there's one more thing which is important for all of us is to, and there was one speaker here, and I have my own thoughts. He was a regulator, I thought, who was saying that it is going to take a long time for biologicals to come up. And I say the 21st century is the century of biologicals. Thank you very much.
Professor, if you just wait for a second.
Please be seated. Just be seated. Just be seated over there.
You're seated, okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you all the speakers for a wonderful talk. I hope everybody was enlightened by it. May I request our Vice Chair Sandeepa Kanitkar to kindly give mementos to all the speakers across. Let's go one by one. Amit Rastogi.
Brilliant lecture.
Thank you very much.
I took many notes.
Lakshmi sir.
Thank you.
मेरे लिए निधि को छोड़ के बाकी सर ही हैं यहाँ. John Peter.
Thank you.
Vipa, thank you very much, sir. Gracing the occasion. And the young and energetic Nidhi Lahoti. And Mr. R.K. Mehta.
Thank you. I hope you enjoyed Bhasha.
Thank you. Can we have a group for Professor Shashi? He was just here.
Yes, sir.
Please come inside. Please. Thank you very much, sir, for coming across. It's been really wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Can we have a group photograph, all of you?
Yes.
Please. It's okay.
Comes close to the table. Chairs are this.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. You've been a wonderful audience. Just a little brief. Tomorrow we start the session at 9:30 with the Women's Conclave. And then we have got a CABI Bioprotection Portal in Hindi inauguration. You've seen the whole thing. And please join us for a cup of tea and then stay across for interaction in the exhibition hall. Dinner is going to be served in the Italian time. So it's Spanish time. So it's 6:30 to 9. So you won't miss out and not be late across. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.